And there it is. We are live. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you on this fine Monday evening. Sorry I missed you guys last week, but I'm glad you all could be here for this discussion on Carnivore Talk tonight. We're going to talk about surviving the holidays as a carnivore because we just had, Halloween, Thanksgiving, we got Christmas coming up, and for many people, this is an extremely difficult time of year to try and stay on plan. Many people will fall off plan and then struggle to get back on plan. And we're going to talk about what we can do to either stay on plan or recover if we slipped. That's going to be our topic for today. And we look forward to hearing your experiences as a carnivore, ketovore, however you eat, whether you try and stay, vegetarian during the holidays or animal based or whatever your eating plan is. Holidays usually trip some people up. And so we'll talk about that today. So also remember, this is a open mic every Monday night, which means you can join us on screen using your camera, microphone, and device, whether it's a mobile phone or a laptop. I pinned the link. If you're on YouTube, I pinned the link at the top of the chat. And if you're not on YouTube, if you happen to be watching on Facebook and X, I will post it right now. And that should be over heading your way. And you can click on that and you can join us on screen. And we really look forward to that. That's what makes Monday nights a lot of fun is we never know who's going to pop on. And we get to meet some new faces, and we get to meet some regulars too throughout the evening. So it'll be a good time, and we look forward to it. So my name is Bob, and on the screen today we have joining us is Paul and Jeff. So how are you two doing today?
Good, real good. Cold,
good.
But I'm sure everybody across the country is cold right now.
It is cold. It's about 30 degrees here. We've had some snow. But it's melted, but it's back to cold enough it could snow again. In fact, I think we're due to get hit tomorrow pretty bad. So
yeah,
we're getting down in the high 30s at night, which is colder than I care for. Well, for that matter, 50s is colder than I care for. But I got sweatshirts on and long handles on them, and 2 heaters blowing on me right now out here in the shop.
Yeah, I got my door shut, and I got an electric heater that looks like a little fireplace behind me here to keep this room nice and toasty, or else it'd be pretty cold up here too. All right, how you doing, Paul?
Been a real wild 2 weeks, and my one-legged son ran a half marathon in Philadelphia and finished in right about 2-hour time, and he was overcome with the friendliness and support of the Philadelphia crowd. It was just very amazing. He blew his boss away. His boss never thought he'd do this well. They expect him to be struggling to get in, in 3 or 4 hours. And he's logged 1,000 miles this year. And it looks like he's lost about 80 or 90 pounds.
Wow.
If it hadn't been a photo from my other son, I would not have recognized him. He lost a lot of weight. He's doing chicken and salad.
Okay.
Chicken breast and broccoli, and then this weekend was quite amazing. My 11-year-old grandson made world competition next July of 2026 for Irish dance.
That's
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, for his age group, and kind of a big year for him because he's moved up in age group. So he's like at the bottom of there's kids in there 1 and 2 years older than him, and you kind of dance by age. And but it was just thrilling. Yeah, just they only take 25 kids from the United States in his age group will go to the world competition.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that is brilliant. That's good.
So they just got done dancing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over the holiday weekend in Philadelphia. And it was A couple thousand people show up for this thing. It included the states of Maine all the way down to Virginia. All those states in a row are all in this. Got the country divided up into 5 parts, and so he's representing this whole area, and he's got a lot of class. I tell you, he's really worked at it, and it's just and you can see he's just confident and he's smiling. He's starting to enjoy it. He was so serious, before. He just so focused, he never crack a smile, and that was holding him back. You lose points for not smiling.
Yeah, Sandy says, awesome news about your son, Paul. And Bacon Runner says that I love watching Irish dance, and it looks like so much fun. So that's good to hear. Yeah, that's awesome.
I do not understand it at all. You put 30 dancers out there, I couldn't tell you who the best is. They all look the same to me. And the amazing thing is the judge assigns a rank to the student in about 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
They get a score in about 15 seconds. So you're not on display for very long. And it's over with. And it's like, whoa. And
you also mentioned your son. You said one-legged. Is that literal?
Yeah, he's the amputee.
Okay. All right.
Does
he run with a prosthetic?
Yeah. It looks like a spoon bent backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a sponsor. It's called The Blade is what he runs on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the commercial name of it, The Blade. And they sponsor him. He's been to Milwaukee, Chicago, Charleston, Charlotte. I think he went to DC once, and they foot his expenses, and they were totally shocked. A lot of people were totally amazed at how well he did. They didn't, but he's run 1,000 miles this year.
Mm-hmm.
1,000, and he lives in Philadelphia. So, December, January, February, and March is not a fun time in Philadelphia to go running.
Right. Yeah. It's probably just like it is here.
Yeah. Just, nasty weather, and his younger brother ran the half marathon in 1 hour and 15 minutes. He was like within 12 minutes of the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And, but he runs 3,000 miles a year.
And you said he's down a ton of weight too, right? So he's.
Oh yeah, they both have lost like 100 pounds.
Yeah,
they're big guys. They're 6'2", 6'4". Mm-hmm. They were knocking on 300 pounds.
Right. Well, that's good. So he's got the exercise going on, and you said he's eating like chicken and broccoli. So that sounds very keto oriented. That's good. I support that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds good. He's doing really well for himself. So that's good. Thanks for the good report. Really appreciate that. We'll bounce over here and say hi to some people in the chat, so we don't get too far behind, and then we'll maybe touch on our topic. Maybe sticking to our topic is one of our struggles here on Monday nights. But our first comment, the early bird, was Linda Flanagan. Says, hello, everyone. And she did not go off plan for Thanksgiving. So very good for remaining faithful. Target Prime Rib is in the house for at least a short while. Sandy's with us. And let's see here. And then we got Paul is here on screen. You too can join us on screen too. Just click the link that's pinned at the top of the chat. All right, and we have another early bird. This is all this chat's going on before we went live, so it's good to see everybody tonight. Let's see here. Her tip: I just sat at the end of the table with my closest relatives. Nobody noticed anything. Yeah, sometimes that's one of the tips that we'll talk about too, is just not to draw attention to yourself, and if someone draws attention to you, change the subject. All right. Let's see here. Bacon and running for the win. Jamette is in the house. And who else we got here? And she's multitasking, getting some of her holiday decorations up. And here we go. I did a 5K on Saturday and finished strong. It was below freezing and quite breezy. Glad I did it, though. That's something that I would aspire to, is to actually, start running. That's you hear me talk about it all the time, so you see how motivated I am, because I'd like to talk about it, but I never actually get around to doing it. And now that winter's here, I'm like back to my treadmill again, which I did get set up, by the way. All right, let's see here. Sandy Blythe is in the house. Good here. It's warm there because she's in Florida with her windows open. Jealous. I would love to be in Florida with my windows open right about now. Okay. Let's see here. Going down to 26, wherever Linda's at. And might be Michigan. Someone posted Michigan up there earlier. And we got Bill Cook is here. Hello, Bill Cook. Saw you just over on KMT a little while ago. Alexis. How you doing, Lexus? Good to see you tonight. So how's everybody been, by the way? I missed you guys last week. And did I miss anything? I'm actually, I've been a little MIA from the Carnivore YouTube and Carnivore Online community this last week. I've had some challenging situations at work that has required me to focus my attention on my construction business and have less time on the computer. So I haven't been in tune with the latest goings on here among everybody in the carnivore community. Oh, here's the Michigan comment. That's from Linda McDaniel. Hello. Glad you could join us. And we have P. Lipstro. That's what I would guess with that. I don't know. Hopefully that's accurate. So, and we have Free Thinker, Brian Dish, and Geezy the Carnivore. Did you recently change that name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was because it wasn't Geezy the Carnivore before. All right. Good. We need to set you up as a. We need to try setting you up as a moderator in here again, because I remember the last time we tried to enter your email address, it wouldn't show up. That would be very useful. And a lot of chat. Oh, and that, you know what? We're caught up here. 28 in PGH. I imagine that's Pittsburgh. And Linda's in Texas. All right. Very good. Now I'm here in Northeast Ohio between Akron and Cleveland. And it is chilly. I'm not quite north enough to suffer from the lake effect snow, though. All right. So, hey, thank you all for joining us in the chat. It's a real pleasure to have all of you here, and look forward to talking to you throughout the evening. If you have any questions, just go ahead and type them, put a Q in front of it and a question mark at the end of it. And that usually highlights it for me. For instance, there's this one here. Bill Cook said neighbors to somebody else here, but because there's a question mark on it, it's actually highlights for me like this is a potential question to ask. So add cues and punctuations and we won't be missed. And so what's your town? Okay, so actually I'm in Stow. So Stow, Kent border, Kent State University. That's kind of where I'm at. And let's see here. And Lexa says, I'm doing well. Struggling to stay on track, especially after the holidays. I'm transitioning back to carnivore, but this time with more fatty meat, tapering carbs with fruit. All right. Sounds like a plan. Yeah. So meat and fruit is a good plan. And then slowly just, bring down the fruit quantity, increase the meat quantity. And I like that idea about increasing the fat quantity. So on that subject, so I, have the chronic kidney disease, and my phosphorus and my potassium are both higher than what I would want them. So I'm doing some research and I'm utilizing AI. Okay. Which I kind of don't like it, but I'm starting to like it. Okay. So having this conversation with this AI, and how do I, talks about the potassium and phosphorus. And of course, meat-based foods are high in both. In fact, it was surprising. I don't know why anybody says that they have trouble getting their potassium on a carnivore diet, because the meats and cheeses are pretty rich in potassium too. But I asked it, well, what can I do to stay on a carnivore diet and bring down my potassium in carnivore? And it literally recommended to reduce the amount of actual flesh and eat more ribeye fat and butter. That's what it said. It said you need to increase the fat, lower the protein, and increase the fat. You change your ratios. So I thought, well, you know what? I can give that a try. So, because there's a lot of things that people do that I don't do. Over on Kiltz's forum, there's a woman who literally cooks just fat trimmings. She just cooks fat trimmings, cooks them down, and she separates the oils of tallow, and then she eats the fat trimmings when they're crispy, kind of like, I guess there might be like a pork rind.
Yeah,
that's something I've never given any consideration to.
That's what I do with mine. When I make tallow, you're going to have those cracklings left over, and I'll save them. I'll bag them up, and I'll freeze some, put some in the fridge, mix them in with my scrambled eggs, or if I'm having a craving for something, which is rare, but if I'm having a craving for something or I just want a snack or something, I'll take some, heat them up in the microwave, sprinkle a little salt on them, it's just a fat bomb that helps, satiate me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something, like I make butter bites on occasion, but I need to come up with ways of increasing my fat content and then scale back, not a whole lot. It also recommended because the phosphorus is heavy in the yolks, to if I'm gonna eat 8 eggs for breakfast, it recommended that I remove the yolks from 4 of them. So I have 4 eggs with the yolks and the 4 whites. So that way I've cut down on the phosphorus, but I still get the protein, So interesting tips, I don't know if I'll apply that one, but it's been pretty interesting. So yeah, I need to do the same. I'm probably a 60-40 to 70-30 fat to protein ratio, and I should probably try and kick it up to 80-20 and see if I can't improve my numbers a little bit there.
Now, generally I kick mine up with butter.
Yeah.
With all that we've been eating here lately, most of the meats have been pretty lean, so it's a half a pat of butter with each bite of meat I take here lately.
So yeah, I tend to, if I eat lean meat, I just eat lean meat. I really never give it much thought, So like if I'm going to have a chicken breast based meal, I have to add bacon or butter to it, or I just won't feel full, or cheese or something. But I really don't pay too much attention to the leanness of meat. I just keep it simple. I just eat meat, and that's my diet for the most part. Bill Cook says he hates the smell of broccoli. So, and I can actually still tolerate it. So I was raised by parents that made me eat everything on my plate. So there's actually very little that repulses me. So Brian Dish is familiar with Stow, Ohio. Yeah, I got a P.O. box in my show notes on every video too. So if you ever want to send a letter or something, or an email address, there's the contact form too, and my email address is bob@carnivoretalk.com. If you ever have a question you want to ask privately. Let's see here. I'm praying that taking out sweet taste will help with cravings. It will, and tapering it off, gradually might work, depending on your personality type, or it might be still a struggle. So some people when you cut yourself off and you don't touch it for 2 to 4 weeks, then you're going to lose that taste for it, and you're going to lose that craving for sure. Tapering it off, you run the risk of prolonging that then for other people, tapering it off is actually what works for them. So some people just can't do the cold turkey.
It all depends on your personality.
Yeah.
For some people they can taper off. Others like me, I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. I got to go to cold turkey. Prolonging it just increases the agony and gives me a better chance to fail. But that's just me. Some people can't do it that way. But when it comes to that sweet stuff, don't forget the milk and cream and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
That will, even though it may not taste sweet to you, it will act sweet inside of your body, and it will be hard on you. You will crave it because of the lactose sugars.
Bill Cook says whipped tallow bites. Now, you know what? I haven't heard of that. Made my whipped tallow bites taste like lemon. I've heard of butter bites, but not tallow bites. That's intriguing.
I'll make my own tallow, but I don't like I like to cook with it, but I don't like the taste of it. As far as like cold tallow, I don't care for it.
I got tallow from Duma's Meats here locally, but it's not pure. It's like it's been adulterated with some olive oil, and I still cook with it, and it's okay. And but yeah, it's a butter. I can sit there and eat butter. Butter's delicious because it got some salt in it, but the tallow is pretty bland by itself.
It is. It is.
But he made his taste like lemon. So
yeah. My wife will cook her eggs with the tallow, but I prefer mine cooked in butter.
All right. So, and Amy, did you make it through your sardines? That was another thing I learned too. Is I guess sardines with the bones is also high in phosphorus. Also, the recommendation was trying to eat sardines that had or fish that had the bones removed, which I don't think I've ever seen. So, all right. So yes, but I had to mix them with butter, mayo, Louisiana hot sauce, and smoked salt. That sounds good. All right. Okay, let's see here. So cheese, yeah. So Jeff mentioned cheese, and again, that's an individual thing. Some people, they start eating cheese and they can't stop. Yeah. And they end up eating cheese, snacking on cheese over everything, a little bit of meat and a pound of cheese, and then they don't, then they're craving cheese, and then they're stalling out, and they're not really losing any weight because they're still over consuming. And plus you've got, the proteins and the other properties of cheese and dairy is actually designed to put weight on a baby calf. So if you overdo it on yourself, it runs the risk of putting weight on you.
It's designed to increase your appetite. Mm-hmm. That's where the sugars come in. The lactose is sugar. So the thing with cheese, if you're going to eat cheese, if you can find raw, that's the best. Made from raw milk. It's got to be whole milk. Stay away from all that skim and fat and low fat stuff, because when you remove the fat, all that's left is the sugar. And so if you're eating the low fat stuff, it's even worse for you than the whole milk. At least the whole milk, you're getting some benefit from it because you're getting some fat. But if you're trying to eliminate cravings, sweet cravings, then I believe it's important to do away with dairy, because that will keep those sweet cravings. Like I said, even though the cheese or the milk doesn't taste sweet necessarily, it's still putting sugars in your body that will increase the cravings for that sugar. So yeah, even cheese. Sorry, Alexis.
Yeah. So, you have to watch out for, look for, hard cheeses and
hard aged cheese.
Hard aged cheese will have majority of the lactose removed. things like heavy cream, majority of the lactose removed. So soft cheeses, and obviously milk is going to have, you know, the lactose still in it. And then things like cream cheeses, that's a soft cheese, so you probably ought to be careful, you know. And then you got to be picky when you pick your yogurt too. So you know, look it over and see how much of that lactose is sticking behind in the form of sugar in any yogurt that you might have.
Yeah, at our Costco, they've got a yogurt made from A2 milk, A2 cream, and it's absolutely delicious. I went looking for today in my area. Where I've moved to is nothing but dairy all around us. I mean, there's dairies everywhere, and a lot of goats, a lot of sheep, a lot of cattle. And so I went ahead and did a search online. In fact, I came across this website on Steak and Butter Gal's most recent post, and she had listed a website where you can go and find dairies in your area that have that sell raw dairy. And so I checked it out, and I found several in my area. So I'm going to be finding me some cheese and yogurt, you know, that's made with raw milk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's a question I thought about the other day on the subject of raw milk, and that is, so pasteurized milk is often demonized in our community, and raw milk is favored. But on the other hand, and all pasteurization is heating it up to like 165 and then letting it cool. All right. But then on the other hand, things like butter bites are praised, which is putting butter in a pan and heating it up really freaking hot. That's okay, but then heating the milk's not. So that gives me a research thing to do later, unless you want to comment on it, why that's the case. But it seems butter bites is okay to heat up. Milk is apparently bad to heat up. And
because with the
trying
butter,
to reconcile the two.
The butter you're heating up mainly just fat.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. People don't understand the dairy process. Every cow doesn't give the same amount of milk fat. Okay? So, and the breed's very similar, but it'll vary even within the breed. There's that bell curve. It's like everything else in nature, it's under a bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
So when the bulk tank goes to the farms and picks up the milk, it all gets mixed together usually, okay? And then it gets to the dairy, and I call it stripping. They separate it. So they take it down to skim milk or less, and the cream's removed. Then they add the cream back in to get whatever 1%, 2%, 4%, whatever they want to get to. When you go to make butter or cottage cheese, okay, two things I'm familiar with, they add milk back in. They add a little bit of milk into the cream. What they're looking for, they want to get a consistent butterfat number before they make the butter or make the cottage cheese. It makes the process more reliable, okay? And this is what I think happened with the Irish butter, Kerrygold. They were just being honest in how they make one of their butters. They add a little milk to it to get it to a consistent butterfat. Then they churn it, and of course, I don't know this for be a fact, but probably that little extra milk they added to it was a skim milk, of course, and it probably just wound up in the whey. I don't know that for sure, but it's my guess. So what happens in the dairy is it's the same way with A1 and A2. Different animals have different levels of what they're measuring for that A1 and A2. And somebody will say, well, this is A2 milk. But what is the percent of the, I can't remember the chemical that they're measuring. It's Starts with a C. The tap. I can't pronounce it without looking at it. What's that?
Casomorphin.
Yeah, casomorphin, right. And so, that varies from cow to cow too. And that's the addicting part. Or that's not the addicting part, but that's the part that really screws up digestion for people. And if you take that out, then you basically have a dairy product that lactose intolerant people can tolerate better. Maybe not perfectly, but better. So dairy's a little complex. And it's just in the weird part of the United States is how many chickens you can slaughter on your farm per year varies by state. That's a state controlled issue. Okay. Whether or not you can buy and sell raw milk, that is a state controlled issue. It varies from state to state. Okay. Now, I grew up next to the most productive dairy farm in New York State, and the guy had a master's degree from Cornell University in mathematics. He was a bright individual. And we purchased from him raw milk every day, except for 2 weeks out of the year, usually around late July, early August. And he said, no, you can't. You have to pasteurize it. If you don't have if you don't have a pasteurizer, I won't sell it to you. And so for 2 weeks, we didn't drink milk. Well, we had it, but it was store-bought. It was one. And there's something about the cycle of a cow. And I have to research it. I can't. I remember him telling me about it. And after a 2 week period, whatever the issue was, it's gone again. But I know during that 2 weeks, we fed them green oats. And I don't know if there's any science to it or not. But we would take the oats before they ripen in the field. It was green. They just head it out. They chop it with the field chopper, and we would feed it to the dairy cows. And it would make them, it was like us eating asparagus. It makes you pee. It makes a cow pee. It was just my opinion. They seem to pee more when they eat that stuff.
Interesting. All right. Well, I'm not a farmer, so I can't comment.
I am, but I don't know nothing about dairy cattle.
Okay.
Other than I don't like to eat them.
Yeah. Here's an interesting comment from Brisket Boomers. I'm adding sardines for my teeth. After 7 years carnivore, I was losing some tooth enamel. So that's actually a good plan. And because you've got that sardine as being high in calcium, high in phosphorus, which are two key ingredients for building hard tooth enamel. It's also good with vitamin D and, of course, your omega-3 oils that will help reduce oral inflammation. So I don't know where you picked that up, but that's actually an excellent plan. So everybody really would benefit from adding some sardines to their diet. You know, that's a good idea. And if you don't have a taste for sardines, it's actually not that hard to acquire a taste. So I was eating sardines as a kid, right out of the can. And that's the only way I've ever had them. And I guess there's recipes too. There's ways to make them, and be creative with them too. So, all right. Lexi says heavy cream tastes sweet to me.
It is.
See, I think mine says the kind that I get says 0 carb. So it doesn't taste sweet to me.
Huh?
Yeah, heavy
Where
cream.
do you get 0 carb heavy cream? I never heard of it.
Like everywhere. It's heavy cream is almost pure fat.
No.
Yeah, I think so.
Not any that I've ever seen. It doesn't. It has about on a cup, 1 cup has about 5. They say 5.5 to 6.5, about 6 carbs per cup, which is less than 1 carb per ounce. But I find that I've never heard that before.
Oh, okay. Well, no, check this out. I just did a Google image search for heavy cream label, so I'm gonna bring this up on the screen. But no, the heavy cream You might be getting like half and half or something, but heavy cream by itself
No,
is
no. Heavy cream is. And all the ones I looked at in the store.
A quick search I came up with says heavy cream contains about 6.6 grams of total carbohydrates per cup.
Yep.
Yeah. So like here's a label here. Oh, okay. Well, that's 1 tablespoon. It says less than 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The serving. Well, you know,
1
I called.
tablespoon, 0. Interesting. So here we go. Here's 4 ounces. 3. Okay.
Yep. That'd be right.
All
Six for a cup. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's never have it in that kind of quantity. So I guess if you're putting it in your coffee, you're probably putting in a tablespoon or less, though. So that would count as almost 0. If you're making Kilt's as ice cream, and then you're probably eating, the entire carton, the entire pint, then you've got a lot more carbs in there than you would want. But if you're just putting a tablespoon in your coffee, it's probably not even worth counting. So,
but anything under 10 carbs a day, I just call it 0.
Well, pretty much everything has carbs.
That's true. So even your muscle meat, your organs, and everything,
it's going to have some amount of carbs.
Yeah.
We like to say that we eat 0 carb, but we don't. None of us do. Our eggs have carbohydrates in it. Our meat has carbohydrates in it.
Great. Coffee's got
what
to.
we're doing is we're minimalists.
Right.
We're keeping our carbs
right,
to a minimum.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I got schooled on that one. So good job. Good job, boys.
Nope. Well, there's I didn't even know it existed, but there's a powdered heavy cream.
Yeah.
So I get powdered milk, you get powdered heavy cream.
I just recently found that out myself.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
I came across it on YouTube. Somebody was using it in their cooking.
Yep, that's where I found it.
That's where I came across it.
Yeah,
we probably watching the same video.
Yeah, that what's her name, Luna or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
It wasn't hers that I was watching, but I've watched some of hers. I like her.
Yeah. She.
Yeah.
She has some good simple recipes.
Oh yeah, Courtney Luna does. Yes. So.
Yeah, Courtney. Yep.
And she's getting back on the 100% carnivore train too after spending some time off of it. So yeah, no, she's got good content, good book, and everything. Bryce Brisket here says there are 20 states that prohibit the sale of raw dairy. So what's interesting is here in Ohio is like one of them, but there's like workarounds. There's some farmers, like if they were selling it before a certain date, if a certain law passed, they're grandfathered in, or if their company was. So like those companies or those people are allowed to continue doing it. Another one has this arrangement where you spend money and you buy like part of the herd. So you're a co-owner of the herd, and therefore you can legally have its raw milk. And then when you're done, you sell your share of the herd back. So
we have, I saw that in one of the dairies, or maybe 2 of the dairies I was researching this morning here in Texas. Now they can sell raw dairy here. Mm-hmm. But there was 1 or 2 where it was more like a co-op that you buy into that I found interesting. I'm gonna look into that club membership type deal. And when I was watching that video from Steak and Butter Gal earlier this morning, where she lives, I think she lives up in Washington State. Anyways, up there, they can't sell raw dairy to humans, but they can sell it to pets. So her dairy is marketed towards cats and dogs. So that's what she buys. And I think she mail orders hers, but she buys hers marketed towards dogs and cats.
Yeah.
But it's, that's their loophole. That's their get around.
Yeah. I think I saw Paul Saladino do a YouTube short where he bought some raw milk for pets, popped the cap off, and started guzzling it. So, and then, but then at the same time, I also read an experience where someone else did that and they got sick. So the issue with raw dairy is you got to trust your supplier. So,
Well, I saw a
you
stat.
need to know your farmer.
Well, I saw a stat, and it was on one of the websites that I was researching for raw dairy. And of course, who knows if the stat is true, but it stated that like 1,600 or 2,600 something people die a year of constipation, and 0 people die of raw dairy.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you can't get
I've heard.
sick from it, but it's not going to kill you.
Right.
I mean, this goes back to the 70s, but when I milked cows for Mr. Hill, we washed them thoroughly. There was no visible feces anywheres. We wiped the udder with it was a homemade Clorox wipe. It was a rag soaked in Clorox and water. And then we used a very strong concentration of Clorox and water in a 9-ounce cup, and we dipped each teat into that. Then we hook up the milking machine. And he never failed a milk inspection, never. But he was very strict, very strict.
All right. Oh, did I get disconnected from Facebook for some reason? No, it says I'm still there. Huh. Interesting. Facebook doesn't like to play friendly sometimes. So anyway. Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's
get to the subject.
Let's talk about our topic for tonight. So, okay. So if you are in the United States and if you celebrate Thanksgiving, or even if you don't, you probably have family that takes advantage of that time off to get together and has a big meal. Staying faithful during the holidays might be a challenge for you. And so it actually wasn't for me. Both sides of my family are dysfunctional and don't hold any get-togethers whatsoever. So in my house, we had me and my wife, and we had my son and his girlfriend and her dad came over, and we had a Stranger Things marathon, watching the first volume of season 5 that got released that day or the day before. And they made a lasagna with type thing with rigatonis, which of course I did not have. And then the father, the girl's father, he brought over a crock pot. He had made these sausages simmering in like a tomato-based sauce with some peppers in it. And that's what we had. So I had like 3 or 4 sausages, and he had his on a hoagie bun. And of course I had mine on some egg life wraps, so I could still have the, sub sandwich type of experience, but still stay faithful. So I did just fine, and I didn't slip up whatsoever. But I didn't have anything in front of me to tempt me. So for me, it was easy. I didn't have to face any cranberry, whatever, or pumpkin pie, or sweet potatoes with the marshmallows, or anything like that. No stuffing. No, I didn't even have a turkey. So for me, it wasn't a problem. But how about for you? How did your Thanksgiving go? Let us know either on screen. I posted the link again. We'd love to hear from you, or let us know in the comments how you did over the holidays. Did you have a family get together with all those fixings in front of you? And if so, did you commit sins and eat them? Now's your time to confess. There will be no punishment, we promise. Or were you able to remain faithful? We'd like to know. And then we've got some tips, of course, on how to remain faithful. So first, Jeff, how did you do?
I did as usual. Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have a family full of great cooks, and my daughter, she's taken over the chores of cooking for the holidays, and she has a sideline business where she is commercially making cheesecakes, and she makes world's best cheesecake, and I'll fight anybody on that, guaranteed. Anyhow, so yes. And I even commented, she had 2 cheesecakes out there for dessert that I said, if I was a weaker man, I'd give in to that because cheesecake has always been my favorite dessert. But knowing that that's my favorite dessert, and I don't have the cravings anymore. I lost the cravings over a year and a half ago. I don't have cravings for sweets, carbs, or anything. So getting through the holidays is easy for me. It's not a struggle. I did this from the get-go for my health, for medical issues, and I don't ever want to go back to fighting those medical issues again. And so it's easy for me to have the proper mindset to get through this kind of stuff. And like I said, I don't have the cravings anymore. All I want is meat. So anyhow, on that note, my daughter, though, has developed a carnivore cheesecake for me. So it has no flour in it. It has no sugar in it. And she knows she's done carnivore with me. She's not on it presently, but she has done it in the past. She understands carnivore and how it works. And so she was able to develop this cheesecake for me. And she makes 2 of them for me. She makes one that's a dessert cheesecake that does have some allulose in it. Because I can handle allulose. It doesn't bother me. And it's still a minimal amount. And then she makes a savory cheesecake. And it is a cheesecake with absolutely no sugars in it. It has bacon in it. And it's more of and it'll have a few jalapenos in it just for me. And it's more of a breakfast type cheesecake. That's what I've been eating for breakfast for the last week, ever since Thanksgiving. So these are the treats she does for me. So I still get a treat, But for me, the day was plenty of turkey. We deep fried our turkeys. That's a treat that we have here in Texas. We love deep frying them. So and deep fried in bacon up fat or lard. So it was good oils. And she knows to put the butter dish by me because if I'm eating that turkey, I'm going to have to eat a lot of butter with it because it's just too lean of meat. So for me, it was simple. It was water, salt, butter, turkey, and my carnivore cheesecake. That's all I had. And I was totally happy, totally satisfied. And for me, it's not about the food. It's about the family. So that's what I'm there for.
Yes, understood. All right, Paul, how did you fare Thursday or
I did.
over
I
the
did.
weekend or
I did. It was the best. It was the lowest carb Thanksgiving I've ever had in my life,
Mhm.
and major accomplishment. And my one son in Philadelphia is a former chef, so he's almost hired out to his wife's family. He does all their cooking for them, so I really don't have a place to go. And like I say, my daughter, she's in Philadelphia. They go out to a restaurant, and because they dance Friday, Saturday, Sunday every year, it's the same thing. So I don't have too many temptations. I stay at home. This year I bought a package of turkey thighs, 2 great big thighs, cooked them in the frying pan, ate those, and I made myself a pumpkin cheesecake. But there's no pumpkin in it. I found on the internet last year pumpkin extract.
Mhm.
Think like vanilla extract, okay? So
Right.
I flavor it with the pumpkin spices and this extract.
Mhm.
And I put just a little hint of food coloring in it to make it color up like a pumpkin cheese. It looks like a pumpkin cheesecake,
Mhm.
is what it looks like, but there's no pumpkin in it. So it's just got the carbs from the cream cheese, and it's a New York style ricotta carnivore cheesecake. And I actually upped the egg yolks a little bit on it. And I made a 9-inch one, and I ate the whole thing in 4 days.
Mhm.
And had good coffee and that every day. And I am I'm a foodie. I am triggered by food. If I'm watching a TV show and they say, "Oh, come on in, have a cup of coffee," I got to get up and make a cup of coffee. I'm that bad. I grew up. My mother couldn't cook. We never had a moist turkey. We never had a moist hamburger. Uh, but my mother could bake. We had cakes, pies, cookies, brownies. Oh, my mother makes 6 apple pies every 3 weeks. Not little 9-inch pies, 10.5-inch glass pie pans. And I there was a TV show on I was watching before this, and the guy went in and got a piece of apple pie his wife made for him, and my sister and my mother made great apple pies, and it's a trigger. I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready. Give me, if there was a piece in front of me right then, I would have eaten it. But I don't have it here, so for Christmas, I'm going to the grandkids, and my ex will be there, and she bakes a ton of cookies. So I'll be taking a chocolate cheesecake and a lemon cheesecake with me. And that's when everybody else is going for the cookies, I'll be going for that. And I went to my butcher, and late last week, I guess it was last Wednesday, I said I'd like the best ribeyes, the fattiest ribeyes in the rib. Somewhere in the rib, there's more fat. And he said, I know what you want. And I go, okay. And I said, I want 2 fingers. And he's a pretty husky guy. I said, I want 2 of your fingers in thickness. I don't want any thin steaks. So he cut me 4 ribeyes. It's only $12 a pound. Okay. And it's all he charges for ribeye. And so I said, I know it's going to be $70-$80, but I kind of decided in my mind that I'm taking those with me when I go down to see my grandkids. Mm-hmm. I'll be there for 5-6 days. And my daughter said, don't worry, I'll make sure the grill's full of gas. So anytime I want, I can step outdoors and make me a ribeye. Mm-hmm. And so I normally get through, because anytime I want something, I'll have a little bit of water, a little bit of salt. And if I don't get through the craving in that time period, I'll have a cup of coffee. Just plain black coffee. Maybe I'll stick a pat of butter in it. But I don't put any sweetener in it. And no cream. And the coffee usually gets me through. And I stay pretty active with the grandkids. And of course, they only see me a couple times a year. So, there's a fight to see who's going to sit absolutely next to Grandpa. And that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping for just a little bit warmer weather. I think it was 2 years ago I went down there to Delaware. They're in Delaware, Lewis, Delaware. And it was freezing cold. So it wasn't like we're going to go outside and do anything, But I bought three different soccer balls, the 3, the 4, and the 5, the different sizes. And I bought them a rebound board. It's this plastic hexagon thing. It's like a plank. You kick the ball into it, and it comes back to you. And you can flip it over. And when you kick the ball into it, the ball flies up in the air coming back to you. And you turn the whole thing around. It's got like ribs on it. So the ball comes off at a wacky angle. It's just for kids to practice with. Yeah, I hope to go outside and run around and do a bunch of that stuff.
Well, yeah, that's run around with the grandkids will be good physical activity. So it sounds like you have a plan, and that kind of fits right in with some of the tips that we would talk about. If you were listening to both Jeff and Paul, here's some things that we could glean, and one of them is and this wasn't brought up about tonight, but this has been brought up in the past. So number one is a way to stay faithful is to eat a satisfying carnivore meal before going to your family gathering. That way, when you're there, you've already eaten some food and you might not be tempted by all the surrounding visuals and odors and everything that everybody's brought. and it'll be easier for you to not give in to those temptations. What we did here, though, is plan ahead. And so we have, in the case of both Jeff and Paul, they planned ahead when it came to, well, one, they were committed going into what they were going to eat. But also, you had one who had a cheesecake. Actually, they both had cheesecakes. One was a pumpkin flavored cheesecake, as Paul said he had, which sounds very interesting. And then Jeff had apparently the best cheesecake in the world, courtesy of his daughter, and and those were just fine. Paul's had a little bit of pumpkin extract, which is okay, and then Jeff's had a little bit of allulose, which he can tolerate, and that's okay too. I can tolerate a little bit of it, though. If I overdo it on allulose, though, I will be spending the rest of the evening in the bathroom. Too much allulose doesn't agree with me very much. So those are obviously some good plans. Bring food with you. Of course, you could do that if you don't eat ahead of time, but you don't, because you want to eat with everybody when they're eating, then you can make sure you bring food with you that you can eat, food that you can share. So you could bring a meat and cheese tray. You could bring the ham. You could bring deviled eggs. That's popular around that time. There's always something there that you can eat, and it's okay. And so by planning in advance, you can definitely do okay. And then while you're there, obviously load up on all the meat and animal-based options and ignore everything else. And I would say don't draw attention, because if your family's like a lot of family around mine, they're going to try and peer pressure you. They're going to tell you, well, it's just one bite isn't going to hurt, or I only make this once a year. This is the only time I ever make this. You got to try it and all that. So, if you just go in, pick what you want, keep a low profile, and don't draw attention to yourself, that might be the course of wisdom when it comes to a family gathering like that. And if you do have food pushers in your family, all you have to say is, you know what, I've had my fill, maybe later, and try and change the subject. So those are some of my tips for handling that kind of issue at a family get-together. Are there any other tips that we could add besides that, do you think, Jeff or Paul?
Well, I know for me, I take a lot of food. I can tell you, I've taken 4 big steaks with me. They're about 1.5 pounds each.
Mm-hmm.
And I take, they also grind their own beef there. So I'll take a lot of ground beef. What I don't use when I'm there, I'll just leave behind for my daughter. Eggs, I take a lot of eggs with me. And, and I'm stocking up now on the thick cut bacon. When it was just on sale last week, I bought, so every morning when I get up at their house, I get out the big cookie sheets and the racks, lay the bacon on it. We bake the bacon in the oven. Just no fuss. It's very easy. And so, it's so, if the bacon's right there, you could just, you don't have to have the cookie. You can have the bacon, because the cookies are just, they make this chocolate cookie and they put a maraschino cherry in the middle of it. Then they put like fudge on the top of the cherry. And they bake it that way so it all melts in together. God. If I can avoid those, I can do anything. I could do anything.
All right, yeah. There's a time when that stuff was like, oh, I don't know. Kryptonite's not a good parallel for it, because it's not like Superman is tempted or craves kryptonite, but whatever. I don't know what the word for it is, but yeah, I used to. There was times when I couldn't go without like I loved pecan pie. I had to have a pecan pie. I used to go to these family gatherings, and it wasn't just family gatherings, but it would be like even like wedding receptions or congregation gatherings where everybody brings a dish. My mentality was I needed to sample one of everything. I wanted to try a one of everything, and I would just stuff myself silly. And now I can go to those and maybe not eating anything at all, depending on what's there. So it's really interesting how after doing a year or two of carnivore, how your mental your view of food changes, so it used to be food was like, food and variety was one of the most important pleasures in life, and now it's just like, what, all food now is something to nourish my body and shut my stomach up, and that's all I care about,
Yeah,
and all
'cause,
these giving into all these temptations and flavors and stuff, it doesn't even, all that stuff don't even register to me as food anymore now that I've been off of it finally, and that's going to bring us back to our comments in a minute, but I'll let you finish your thought there, Paul.
I'm sure I'm not the only one, but many of us have worked very, very hard to get to where we're at. This has been my greatest struggle in my entire life. And I've had some struggles, okay? This has been the number one struggle in my life. And my formula is this. Let's just say I have 2 cookies. I don't have to have very many carbs to throw my blood sugar out of whack for the next 3 days, okay? And my body will still respond to it a day later. It's not like my blood sugar goes down and stays steady. The next day, today it's 2:00 in the afternoon, Paul. Well, you had a cookie yesterday. Where's the cookie today? Blood sugar takes back off. Liver just expects it, and I figure this, if I have a bad day, if I go off the tracks, it takes me 6 days to get back. So I've lost 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
So if I screw up once a week, at the end of the year, I got nowhere. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've just worked too damn hard. I've come too damn far to screw it up. That's my thought process now. Is I just, and I think sometimes people are jealous of us because they look and they go, I couldn't do that.
Exactly.
They not everybody can do. I mean, everybody can eat a carnivore diet, but not everybody can do it.
Right.
It takes there's a certain amount of discipline involved. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
And, it's not a given. Okay. And it's just the way it is. And my son and we almost came to blows one time over the whole carnivore thing. And he felt that when I was sitting there eating a steak and he was having lasagna, he thought I was criticizing what he was eating. I go, you eat whatever you want to eat. I'll eat what I want to eat. And that's the end of it. I'm not preaching to you. If you want to know something, I'll answer any question you got. And you may not like the answer, but the best that I know, and it's and I think, we have to look at our community, and there's a lot of support, and there's some that aren't so supportive, but for the most part, we're 90% supportive. If you want to put a number on it, we put numbers on everything else.
Yeah, I think most people are. You get a couple holier than thou carnivores. You're not a you use some black pepper. You're not a pure carnivore. You're not a true carnivore. Just kind of ignore them. But but no. I think overall we're a supportive community, and the keto and carnivore community. I think so. We're all definitely feels like a community. Feels like a brotherhood or a sisterhood of sorts. And but I know what you mean, so like sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned it off screen before we went live. We were talking backstage, and November, is somewhat of a difficult month, and that's why I wasn't on last week. And so over here in this house, we can kind of bring ourselves down a little bit, just because this month memorializes bad things that happened in the same month in years past. And so, and then whenever I let my mindset get in that negativity, it's like I'll think to myself, like, and for me, it's kidney disease related. Like, I'm on a carnivore diet because I got kidney disease and I'm trying to preserve my kidney function. And it's like, I'll get really frustrated. Like, my phosphorus is high, my potassium's high. And I'm like, it's kind of funny. So they go to the kidney doctor and they gave me a list, like, oh, here's a list of high potassium foods that you can't eat. And it's 3 pages worth of fruits and vegetables. I'm like, I don't eat any of this. And then it started to think, like, I can't eat any of this. Like, this is like, like bacon, is high in potassium. So I could cut out the bacon, chicken breast could be high in potassium, so I could just do beef only, beef, water, and salt. And it's like, I can't. The last couple of times I've tried to have like even a little bit of alcohol, I have cramps in the middle of the night that wake me up, and oh, it's terrible. Messes up my electrolyte balance. And so I can't have drinks anymore. I can't have dark colored sodas because of the phosphoric acid. And so I start like, I can't this, I can't this. And I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes I'm like, you know what? If I just put myself on the transplant list and got out of the kidney, then I could eat whatever the hell I want. I wouldn't have to care anymore. I start thinking that way. And, but then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to eat whatever the hell I want. Because when I did that, I got up to almost 240 pounds, So in the end, it wouldn't matter. I don't want to change my eating habits anyway, because the last thing I want to do is undo all my progress. I'm 60 pounds down. I've reversed ulcerative colitis, and I've improved a bunch of other metrics, albeit kidneys aren't one of them, but if I was to throw caution to the wind and go back to eating just whatever, like I didn't care, then I put on all the weight and I'd look like I didn't care, and I was like, I can't let myself do that either. So I can relate to that, that I've worked too hard for too long to get to where I am to let myself undo it now. So I agree. So,
well, the thing that us three have in common besides carnivore is our whys, our reason. Each one of us has a different one, but it's all still the same. We're doing it for our health. We're doing it because we've wrecked our health, one way or the other, and we're trying to fix that. And we're fixing it through carnivore. And I believe that's an important part of why we have a stronger mindset than many people, because I think your why determines your determination, your motivation. I'm strict because nothing tastes as good as how I feel, and I feel fantastic. I've been a carnivore for over 930 days now, and I have reversed so many illnesses, and I feel so great. I'm doing things today that I couldn't do 2.5 years ago. And I don't want to wreck that. And for me to go off track for one holiday wrecks that. Now, I envy those who can moderate. I envy those who, they can go out and have a day and splurge and have whatever they want and go right back to normal the next day. God bless you. I'm glad you can do it. I can't, because if I did that, I would spend the next 2 weeks fighting to get back on track and reversing what I've screwed up. And I would probably pay a penalty for it. And so why do I want to subject myself to that? I don't want to go back to the way I was, because I like the way I am. So it's easy for me to have the right motivation, the right mindset going into a holiday to say, I'm not going to do any of that because I don't want to go back. I don't want to go backwards. I like going forwards, and that's your motivation, Paul. That's why you do it, because you know what it's going to do to you. And usually we find out what it's going to do to us because we screw up. We make the mistakes. We learn from our mistakes and we don't make them again. So you've got that motivation for your health, Bob. You've got yours for your health. and I've got mine for my health. And I think for us, it tends to be easier because we're not in it for the weight loss. The weight loss was a sideline benefit. It was a great benefit. I love it, but it was secondary to our health. And so because of that, our motivation is strong. Those that are in this just to diet, just to lose the weight, they approach it with the mindset of this is a diet and not a lifestyle. And because of that, they struggle. They struggle daily. It's a constant fight.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's not a diet in this world that works. Only lifestyle change will work. And until you adopt this as a lifestyle and change your lifestyle, you've got to change it for good. You can't go back. Because you go back to the way you was. And that's no good. That ain't what you want.
Yep.
So you've got to have that mindset that says, this is my new life. I'm not going back to my old life. It's just
you hear over and over on a lot of channels. Well, once I get to this weight, I'm going to start adding this back in and that back in and this back in and that back in.
Yeah.
I hear it almost every day.
And when I started this, that was the mantra. That's what everybody said, that this was an elimination diet. You eliminate everything that's bad for you, that's hurting you. And then you can slowly add things back in and find out what you can keep and what you can't. Okay. Well, I came into it thinking like that, but once things were healing, I was scared to try anything. I didn't want to attempt to do that because I was afraid of what it might do to me. Now I did recently, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I tried some sauerkraut. It's the only thing non-carnivore I've had, but I went into it knowing that is one of the foods, because it's a fermented food, that shouldn't affect us on carnivore. And so I tried it. I haven't had it since. I may not have it again for a year, but it was just something I wanted to try. But as far as adding a lot of stuff in, I tried eating some chili one time, tore me up. Don't want to do that. But that was mainly a meat dish. But the thing is, people that do this strictly as a diet, they have that mindset that I can come back. I can go back to doing that. And they've got to understand they may not be able to, not if they want to be successful. For those, there are those that can do more of a keto lifestyle and be successful. Man, I'm happy for you. I can't do it.
God bless them.
But you've got to know you've got to know yourself. You got to know what you can handle and what you can't. I know myself. I know where I'm weak at. And so because I know where I'm weak at, I stay strong where I'm strong at. That's how I handle it.
And I'm one of those that occasionally has something else. Now I'm 97%, 95% carnivore most days, most meals. But if I am going to cheat, I cheat with something either keto or completely natural. Like my personal vow has been, to be mostly carnivore. I'm carnivore enough that I call myself a carnivore, and then never touch basically any ultra processed foods ever again. So I made a vow. I made a vow when I started this, that actually before I started this, I was keto. So I made this vow when I was keto that I would never again eat grains or refined sugar, which is just another grain anyway. And so back then it was only ever going to be meat, dairy, fruits, and vegetables. And that's still my mentality to this day, although I went a full year without any fruits and vegetables. And then since then, I might occasionally have one. But I've learned what affects me and what doesn't. Like I said a couple weeks ago, someone had me over for hospitality and served up chili. There's a white chili and a regular chili, and I had a little bit of each. just like your reaction, Jeff. Mine was the same. Tore me up.
Yep.
I think that was the first legume I've had in nearly 3 years. And so yeah, that's a never again going
Well,
forward.
that's where you learn your lessons. That's
Yeah.
where I learned. I can't add stuff back in like that.
Mhm.
I just, it's best that I don't.
Yeah.
Just stay happy with stay in your lane and stay happy being there.
Yeah. Now I can have an iced tea and they put a lemon on the edge of the cup. I can squeeze that lemon in my iced tea and I can eat that lemon quarter, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. If I have iced tea out at a restaurant, I might occasionally have broccoli. What I have learned though is I think salads have to come off the list permanently, because I've noticed a pattern that anytime I go out and I go ahead and accept the side salad, and man, I'm back home for 60 to 90 minutes and I'm right in the bathroom. It just like goes right through me. And so I think salads are just like the chili. They have to go. They're a no-go. And I'm okay with that. So it's not going to break my heart to not have a salad.
My son told me from his restaurant days,
Mhm.
the salads are one of the worst harborers of
E. coli.
food bacteria. Yeah, you don't want to know. If you go into a restaurant and you order a steak well done, it's either going to be deep fried or microwaved with a leaf of lettuce on top of it. 90% of the restaurants, that's how they cook a well done steak.
I think, okay, well, I don't eat well done steaks, so I
Well, if
wouldn't
you eat a
know.
well done steak, you deserve what you get. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't eat well done steaks, so I wouldn't know what a microwaved steak tastes like. Although I try that. I have a microwave in my truck, and I did that one time where I took a New York strip from the previous day. I cooked an extra one, took one to lunch the next day, tried to warm it up in a microwave. I actually hated it. I didn't like it, so it was not for me. So I don't like microwaving steak at all. Let's bounce back to the comments here. We're rewinding the clock about half an hour. But Lexus had said, something I really struggle with is self-destructive behavior, especially when it comes to substances. I've been sober for 3.5 years, and now it's sugar and caffeine I struggle with. And she asks below, can anyone relate? Absolutely. So
We all can.
I still struggle with caffeine. And that's something I want that to be my next focus too, because I think if I stop drinking caffeinated beverages, I might be able to drop my blood pressure. So,
Well, most of us all struggle with food in general because we were all addicted to carbs.
And sugar, I've heard that sugar can be more addictive than some of your most potent street drugs.
And all carbs turn into sugar in your body. So we were all addicted to that stuff.
Yeah. And so the only tip I can think of course, is you gotta either quit or come up with a schedule to taper yourself off that leads you to quit and then commit. So it's just like any other addictive substance, whether it's a street drug, whether it's alcohol. You can't tease or entertain yourself with even small portions of it, or you're going to relapse. So it's really, you got to make that mental commitment. Just like at Alcoholics Anonymous, they teach you can't even have a single drop, not a single taste, because it's going to undo your progress. And that same principle can be applied to all other addictive substances, including sugar and caffeine. So you got to go through the withdrawals. You got to go through the trying to distract yourself, and the habits and the changes and acquiring a taste for something else, but it's worth it in the end. So it's hard. Yes, it's hard, but it can be done.
What helps? One, high fat, moderate protein. The fat always helps. Anytime you're struggling, pour in the fat.
Yes.
That genuinely helps. And two, something that really helped me out was immersing myself in the community. Watching the videos, I became a YouTube junkie because of this way of eating. Because I put all my focus on watching what other people were doing, how they were doing it, their struggles that they were going through, and learning from the carnivore doctors, the wheres and whys of this, what it does to your body, getting educated about how our body functions, when eating properly. And by immersing myself in it, it really helped to solidify my resolve to do this properly. And it really motivated me to get over the cravings. And it didn't take long to get over them, just being super strict. It didn't take long at all. But stay immersed in the community. It will help motivate you.
Bacon Runner says, I'm going to a wedding this Saturday. I ordered Italian sausage. I hope I made the right choice. If I didn't, I don't have to eat them. So, so that sounds like a good choice. Like I said, I eat Italian sausages all the time. So I actually eat a lot of pork products. So, and I might want to try and wean that over to more beef to try and get some of my phosphorus and back in check.
Yep.
Grandma's Crochet Corner says with
Ken
family,
Berry just
with family and all the fixins I had on my plate, a turkey leg, slice of turkey breast meat, slice of cheese, and about 3 green olives, and a sugar-free Jell-O for dessert. All right, you did well, Grandma's Crochet Corner. You did good. Sugar-free Jell-O, as you know, aside from the artificial sweetener, is mostly carnivore. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Carnivore cheesecake sounds awesome, Jeff. Hope you can do a video.
I can only do a video of me eating it.
That's right.
Because I don't make it. My daughter does.
George
And I can't give out her recipe because she's making this commercial. It's hers.
Okay, so that recipe's not in our forum, is it?
No, she's developing this to sell it commercially. She already sells cheesecakes commercially.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to come up with some keto and carnivore options for those, that are doing it. And so I'm her guinea pig. And I, as big a struggle as it is, I'm there for my daughter. It's all about family.
I'll help.
So, but yeah, this is something she's working on,
in all seriousness,
for her business.
If you're looking for a cheesecake that's carnivore, look at George Stella, Stella. He was a fat chef with a fat wife and 2 fat teenage boys in the late 1990s. And he took his family low carb, keto basically. And he wrote several cookbooks, which you can get at thrift books for $5 a piece usually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And almost all of his cookbooks have the carnivore cheesecake in it. And he also, in all of his cookbooks, he has the before and after picture. And between the 4 of them, they lost over 400 pounds.
Wow.
That's how fat they were. That just came out in like 2020 something.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm still doing it. He says, I'm still doing it. So
I just searched him up on the web. If you start typing George Stella,
his cookbooks are very simple.
Yeah, it says George Stella low carb recipes was like the first auto populated option it gave me. So yeah, you can. He pops up right away. I'll have to check that out. Coach Juliet Eden says, I'm old. Jell-O always reminds me of a colonoscopy, which she ate the day before.
Yeah.
Carnivore, I could easily fast, but not plan on having another colonoscopy done.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I'd do Jell-O too. I had ulcerative colitis, so I'm probably like, for my age group, I'm probably the king of colonoscopies. So, and But yeah, Jello was like Jello and broth. Those are like the only things you could actually eat.
You can buy the cookbook, the thrift book for $5.
Yeah, we got a local store here called the Bookseller that has all this used stuff. I think they get it from estates. When people pass away, they clear them out. They end up at the Bookseller, and you can get books for even old books for really cheap. Jamette says hot Jello reminds her of hospital food. Now, my hospital actually served good food. That started my carnivore diet at a hospital. When I was at a hospital, they were like, "What do you want?" And I said, "Bacon, eggs, sausage, and shredded cheese melted over all of it." And they were like, "No problem." And yeah, it was great. So I don't like Jello and haven't had it for decades, especially disliked green and yellow Jello. I think it all tastes the same, regardless of the color or supposedly flavor. Yeah, Jamette asked pumpkin extract. Yeah, Paul was talking about pumpkin extract, just like a vanilla extract, but he found a pumpkin one. And I've done that with Kiltz's ice cream. I've used vanilla extract, and I've also used orange cream extract to make it like an orange creamsicle. I've also used strawberry extract to make like a strawberry flavored ice cream. So yeah. Terry, girls in the house, good. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Bill Cook is out, signing off. And of course, this was back at 8:50, so we're still trying to catch up here. Let's see here. And P. Lipstro is going to bed too, says good night to Jeff. And do you know that person? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, she's my friend. It's Lipstro. Okay. Yeah, her first name is Patty.
Okay.
She's a friend of mine.
Not Lipstro, but Lipstrew. Okay. All right. Very good. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. We're talking about tips. Tips for the holidays: bring food that you can eat, enough for everyone, and don't draw attention to your plate. And if someone mentions it, stand your ground.
Absolutely.
It's not your business what you put in your mouth. Now, isn't it funny though that people like to make it their business?
Well, it's just like your health. Your health is nobody else's business but yours. And that includes whether it's your friends, your family, or your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge of your health. So take charge of it.
We are the lions and lionesses. They are the sheep, the pigs, the cows. And then Booby Goat says, I don't want to eat people. So, although I imagine that would be the most bioavailable thing you could put in your mouth. Oh, it's disgusting. Let's see here. Just had a plate of ground beef and butter. I'm so full, says Jeep Australia. That's what I had last night. Actually, I had a pound of ground beef. It was 80, 20 grass-fed ground beef. I cooked that up, chopped it up real fine, and I had that with my local Sam's Club sells a tzatziki sauce, which is like a gyro sauce. It's mostly yogurt, almost zero carb. And so I used a little bit of that as a garnish last night. So that satisfies my craving for the occasional gyro.
Yeah, tzatziki is yogurt and cucumber with some seasonings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's cucumbers basically it's a fruit and it's just water. There's nothing in a cucumber. I think you burn more energy trying to eat the cucumber than the cucumber actually comes with. So, all right, guys, I just scored an amazing ribeye. It was $9 and an inch thick. Awesome.
Good price.
Sounds like that's good. Have you ever made one of those? The tomahawk ribeyes. They're like they got a huge bone in them, and they're like 3 inches thick. I made one of those one time, and absolutely delicious.
Yeah, all my ribeyes, I didn't ask for it when I had my cattle butchered. They made all my ribeyes bone-in ribeyes.
Mm-hmm. Bacon Runner says, I appreciate the people in the panel being so candid about their journey. And yeah, I mean, I can't come on here and be like, I'm the perfect carnivore. You all should do exactly what I've done. So, yeah, we all have our struggles. We have our struggles. We had our struggles when we started our diet. We might be doing good about that now, but we still struggle with maybe feeling down. We still struggle with temptation. We still struggle. Some of us struggle with family and the holidays. That's why we made this a topic of discussion tonight. And yeah, just be honest. Here's how else are you going to learn or find inspiration in others if you can't relate to them, so why would someone not be candid about their journey? That's my opinion. Be open and honest about your journey. I think that's going to do more to strengthen someone else than putting on a front like you're perfect and you should do as I say. And
Well,
it's not it's not humble, and it's not attractive either, so.
Well, when I was talking earlier about how I immerse myself into the carnivore community, watching all these videos, I was learning and getting my inspiration from other carnivores who were talking about their struggles and what they went through and how they overcame them. And that's how I learned to do what I did. And so it's only right that we pass that on and we do the exact same thing for others that are coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then, yeah, I was just thinking like a lot of the people that I do watch, so, and I'll say this. So like, there's people who I watch who struggle and my heart really goes out to them. Because they struggle more than I struggle. I was thinking of Kip Carnivore. He does really well from time to time, and then he struggles from time to time, and he's very frank, open, and honest about it in his videos. Carnivore Kip is what he called, not Kip Carnivore. Let's see here. Larry from Carnivore Quest. He's had his ups and downs. And but even though there's times where he's backslid, you know what? He's very open, candid, and very inspirational about it. And then many of your carnivore doctors, they're more education based in the way that they present their information, but they'll still all humbly admit that from time to time they eat off plan, and so I find that I just think that's all. It's all realistic. What doesn't strike me as realistic is when you get on Facebook or Reddit and you've got these people that are like, I for lunch, or you might say for lunch today, I had 4 quarter-pound patties from McDonald's. And then they rip you apart for eating at McDonald's. Oh, you're not really a carnivore. Oh, you know what's in that? Oh, they got cardboard in that, or human children, or whatever. That's the amount of rumors that go into that, and the people that flip out about it. And it's just like, none of that's encouraging. And you know what? You're typing this. You probably had McDonald's yesterday yourself, you liar. Some people some people, they can't help themselves, but when they're behind the safety of a computer screen, they become this keyboard warrior, and they're holier than thou. And those are the ones that you want to kind of stay away from. So that's not inspiring one bit. But seeing someone struggle and succeed, that's inspiring, because I can relate, because we all struggle, but we all can succeed. So yes. All right. Tom's off to sleep. So nighty night. Let's see here. Jeep Australia, which is 1:00 there, ish, 1 something. I want to go back to the bad way of eating, mostly because of principle. I don't want to give those corpse money to hurt me. I won't. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't read that correctly. I won't go back to the bad way of eating because of principle. I don't want to give those corporations money to hurt me.
Whatever motivates you to get it done.
I actually like that. Big food. Before I adopted this lifestyle, people that talked about big food and big pharma and big corporations, and I'm just like, whatever. Stop flapping your gums, you conspiracy theorist. No one's out to get you. And then now, well, now I know the conspiracy theorists aren't really conspiracy theorists after all. They were onto something. So, yeah, I don't have much
It's not a
respect for.
conspiracy if it's real.
I don't have much respect for big food and big pharma now that I've
Mm.
seen the light. So, yeah, all it took was for the healthcare system to let me down, and then that paved the way for me to learn that the food industry was letting me down also. So, and most commercial stuff that you hear is just misinformation. It's really sad. I feel like the tide is turning somewhat though. Or either that or it's just easier to get the information out of there. For example, today there was an article posted and I shared it on carnivoretalk.com in the diet news section. There's an article posted that, and it's everywhere. It's in all the major news sources too, all the mainstream ones, and it's basically, the title is America's favorite cooking oil is linked to obesity in a recent study. And it has to do with soybean oil. That's America's favorite cooking oil. And there's this study done, and it's done in mice, but it talks about how the pathways are the same in humans. The high linoleic content found in soybean oil that's in everything now. Everything's fried in it. It's in every processed food. People used to, their diet, the amount of linoleic acid they used to get in their diet was about like 1 to 2% of their caloric intake over 50 years ago. Now it's almost 50% of their caloric intake. And corresponding with that is the rise in obesity and chronic disease. And so for me, it's nice to see articles like that published in mainstream publications, because how long now have we been saying that seed oils are of the devil?
Right.
It's been a long time, but then you got the opposition making their TikToks, like Dr. Allo and Dr. Ids and so, oh, seed oil's just fine. You keto carnivores don't know what you're talking about. Well, here we have, yeah, well, yeah, we do, because we reference studies when we do, and now here's another study. So, so we're right. They're also right, because it's kind of also a matter of perspective, because 2% previously 2% of your diet came from linoleic acid, and that was fine. So would a little bit of soybean oil do anything to you? A little bit? No. But the quantity that people consume today, heck yeah. And so it's a matter of perspective. They say, don't fear the oils. Studies show that, or your body needs linoleic acid or whatever. Sure, that's fine, but you don't need this much. It's like the glucose in your blood. You need a little bit of glucose flowing in your blood all the time. That doesn't mean you need a 5-gallon bucket of sugar next to you and a spoon to keep shoveling it in your face. So sometimes I think that the tide is turning and the truth is coming out on seed oils, sugar, and whatnot. And I think it's building momentum. Will it ever be widely accepted? Only time will tell. So we'll see.
Not as long as there's as much money in it as there is.
Yeah.
The money is what drives everything.
That is true. All right. Where's that highlighted comment at? Go back up here where we were. Papa Carnivore says, Jeff, you're so right. A diet never works, but a lifestyle change can definitely work. Yes, I agree with that. Traditionally the word diet was synonymous with lifestyle, but over time, diet has come to mean a temporary weight loss hack. That you go on for a period of time to achieve a weight loss goal, and then you're off of it.
Yeah, and it still has a double meaning.
Yeah, it still means
depending
lifestyle.
on the context.
Yeah.
I eat a carnivore diet, but I'm not a dieter.
Right. Yeah. And so when we say diet, we're talking about its original meaning, which in modern days is like a secondary meaning now, but it originally meant lifestyle. So you figure the diet, what is a cow's diet? What is a, baboon's diet? What is a deer's diet? What is a human's diet? So when we talk about it in that context, we are talking about a lifestyle. Target Prime Rib says, hope you guys enjoy my interview tomorrow. And I'm assuming he's interviewing someone, or is he being interviewed by someone? I don't know. And he's gone to bed. So, but Target Prime Rib, go over and give him some support on his channel. That'd be mighty kind of you. If you haven't liked this video, please do. That helps push it out to more people. And I am like 15 subscribers away from hitting the 3,000 mark. So if you're not subscribed yet, click that subscribe button. That would make me very, very happy. Lifestyle change is exactly what it is. All right, let's see here. Thanks for tuning in from Australia, Jeep Australia. Also says, I had habaneros after 3 years. Next morning, every muscle was like I had done training for 24 hours straight, and it lasted a week. So,
lessons learned.
So I used to be a hot pepper fanatic. Okay. And I used to be one of those guys that would challenge people. Hey, let's go out for wings, and I'm going to challenge you to the hottest sauce we can. Let's see who can last the longest. I loved punishing myself. And I can't do it now, but I used to love it. I can't do it now because of carnivore. My taste buds have changed and my tolerances are gone now. But I could go to a Mexican restaurant and eat a jalapeno pepper. Okay, no problem. I could pluck a jalapeno pepper out of a garden and eat it, no problem. Jalapeno, as in jalapeno. Well, anyway, I was over at my sister-in-law's house probably 15 years ago, and we looked at her house and her pool, and she had a garden out back. It was like our first time there, and she was growing plants, and there was peppers. And I said, what kind of peppers are those? And she said, habanero. And I said, oh, can I have one? And she said, sure. Because I'm thinking, I've had habanero pepper in my Mexican food, and then I've had habanero pepper salsa, and I know it's a little hotter than jalapeno. So I picked the pepper off the plant, and then I bit into it like an apple. Started chewing it. Oh my God. That was the worst thing, I think, one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. That lit me up. And I mean, it lit me up for probably the next 90 minutes. I could not get that burn out. It didn't matter how much ice I chewed, how much ice cream I tried to eat, how much water I tried to drink. I was suffering something terrible. I didn't realize those things were that hot. So I guess whenever I had a habanero flavored something, it was probably just a smidgen of it in there. So,
yeah, they used to try to burn me out at work, and they never could do it. I could leave my hot sauce out on my desk, and nobody would touch it. If they did, they only did it once.
Mm-hmm. Bacon Runner says, don't add anything back. Once you get used to not having it, why eat it again?
Good advice.
That's good advice. That really depends on the individual and what your goals are, So, if you're someone that's, you just might not want to eat that kind of a restrictive diet, but you want to find out what your triggers are for, say, like eczema or something.
And that's where the lifestyle change comes in.
Yeah. Then treating it like an elimination diet, and then adding things back one at a time and seeing what you can tolerate, and then taking note and learning what you tolerate. And then that's what you eat. I mean, that's been the keto diet approach, the Atkins diet approach, for like 100 years now, the elimination diet approach. I think what some people find surprising is the idea that you can eat just meat or animal products and live just fine for the rest of a long, healthy life. Because we've been raised to believe that you must have something from every food group. You must eat your fruits and vegetables. You must have some grains. Mm-hmm. And then, when you find out that no, you don't need any of those. And in fact, those things may be the root cause of some of the issues you've developed as you've reached middle adulthood, then you're shocked. And then after you're shocked, you're angry at big food and big pharma like the rest of us. So it depends, but I don't throw any shame on people like, Paul Saladino, who, he tried to add back rice, didn't work, tried to add back some vegetables, didn't work. He's managed to add back certain fruits and he's able to tolerate them. And, that's fine. That's the way he wants to live. Good for him. I know people have done carnivore and then they've returned back to, eating cruciferous vegetables. They've brought back cauliflower, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts and asparagus, and they do just fine. And if that's what they want to enjoy, so be it. I don't think any, my personal hit list with an S at the beginning for when it comes to food is grains and refined sugar. I just kind of look at it as those are grasses, and humans were not meant to eat grasses. There's another way I word my food philosophy is like, if you can't go out into the wild and eat it in its raw state without it making you sick, then you weren't supposed to eat it to begin with. I don't care if you cook it or not. And kidney beans is a perfect example of that. Eat 3-4 kidney beans, man, you are going to have major bowel issues, possibly vomit. It's poisonous, but if you cook them, if you boil them, then supposedly you can have them. Same thing with an acorn. Okay. Do you know anybody eating acorns? I don't.
I have.
Yeah, you can, but you got to boil them, dump the water,
Yeah, you
boil
do.
them, dump the water, boil them, dump the water.
You got to get all them tannins out of them.
And you're not going to get all the tannins out, but you're trying to get the tannin level down so low that you
Right.
don't have much of an adverse reaction. If you just start eating acorns, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would I ever eat acorns, whether I can cook them or not?
I eat acorns by way of deer. The deer eat acorns, I eat the deer.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice intermediary.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Same thing with the grasses. The cow eats the grass. I eat the cow. So.
Yeah. Bacon Runner says her LDL went down, but everything else got even better. All right. Very good. Good blood work. Good blood work. Carnivore strong. Jeep Australia says, I was a well-done eater. Finally got away from that. My favorite is still medium, just straight in the middle medium. I can do medium rare, and then I start to struggle after that. So trying to train
off
myself.
its horns, wipe its butt, and bring it out here to me.
I love eating overcooked steak. Who doesn't love shoe leather? Some people do. Some people love a well-done steak. Bart K, he says he loves his well done. He doesn't like his with any pink or red in the middle, and that's fine. It's not for me though. Some of us don't struggle with food, just finances. Yeah, steaks are getting up there. I've been resorting to just more. I've been less steaks and more burger lately.
Eat what you can afford.
Yeah.
If all I could afford was burger and lunch meat, I'd eat burger and lunch meat.
Amy says that she just got home and are getting blasted with more snow. Ours is coming tomorrow, according to the weather rumor mill. I enjoy this show because it was always focused on carnivore and health. Usually we get off topic once in a while. We try to keep it to that. So do most of you, here's the question from John David 1071. Do most of you only eat 2 meals a day? What kind of meal frequency do most use on this? That varies per individual. I would say that probably the majority of people find themselves on a 2 meal a day intermittent fasting regimen. Some people obviously still eat 3 meals a day. Some people only eat once a day. But I think that I think it's very popular to what they call intermittent fast at a 16-8 ratio. That means 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of feasting window. And it's not like you're feasting the whole 8 hours. It's basically you eat and you eat again within 8 hours, and then you don't eat again until the following cycle comes and repeats itself. So for me, I will usually have mid-morning breakfast or brunch, sausage and eggs, quite a bit, and some cheese. And then I don't eat again until dinner time. And then I have my pound of meat and whatever I might choose to have with it. Might be different kinds of meats, might be cheese, might be some the tzatziki sauce mixed in. So at Meyer, they have a Meyer grocery store over in the salsa section. They have the Taco Bell Mexican pizza sauce. That's very low carb just from the tomato in it. But a tablespoon of that is like 2 carbs and can season like almost a whole pound of beef. So sometimes I'll use that as a seasoning too. So
Yeah, how often you eat is such an individual thing. You know, you got to center it around what your needs and wants are, and how you feel. And I commented right after he posted this. I commented, "Eat when you're hungry." You know, I don't eat by the clock. I quit eating by the clock when shortly after I started this, because I found I was eating when I wasn't hungry. So I just started eating when I got hungry. And that ended up being 1 meal a day. Now, 2.5 years later, I have gotten too light. I've lost too much weight. I was maintaining my weight for quite a while, and then I got sick intestinally, and I lost 6 pounds, and I'm trying to get those 6 pounds back. So here lately, I have been eating 2 meals a day, trying to get that weight up, and I have gained back 3 of those 6 pounds. But it's got to be an individual thing, and I advocate just eating when you're hungry. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Just make sure when you do eat enough.
all right, very good. Jamet asks, well, chicken, do we trust it? Do we really know where anything comes from? Hamburg and steaks are so red at market. Are they injected? I hope not.
I know where mine come from.
Yeah,
Cheap.
I don't. I really don't worry about the fresh meat supply. Um, I'm not worried. Even the frozen, even the stuff that's like, cooked and frozen. You got to read the bag. Sometimes, like a bag of chicken breast will say, that it's got added rib meat or something on it. Or my favorite saying in some of this like processed meat will say ingredients: mechanically separated chicken. And it's like, mechanically separated chicken. You just picture like a robot ripping a bird apart. Mechanically
It's done in
separated
a centrifuge.
yeah. And so yeah, no, I trust the meat supply. I don't care if it's Walmart, Sam's Club, or my local butcher. Obviously, is very trustworthy. But no, yeah, I think meat's meat. I'm not too worried about it.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've worked in 5 different plants now, food processing plants. And when you see those white helmets and white coats coming through, the USDA federal inspector, everything is super strict. I mean, strict. Okay. And at the chicken plant, you only use your knife for like every hour you change your knife. So if there's any buildup on your knife at all, it's gone. And the knives just don't sit around. They go in a special rack, and this highly chlorinated water pours over them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to get a new knife, it's like in a super sterile condition. I mean, they go to a lot of effort to really make a good product. Things can happen, yes. I'm not saying they don't, but you know, I notice my ground beef I buy at that one particular store, it's not quite as red as others in the supermarket.
So I worked at a hot dog factory once for 4 hours, and then I quit. I walked out. I was through a temp agency when I was like 19 or 20, and Superior Meats down in Canton, Ohio. And so when we went in, we had to, let me hide that comment too. All right. So, when you went in, you had to sterilize. The whole building was kept at like 42 degrees. And you had to put on, I had a goatee at the time, so I had to put on a beard net, a hair net. I had hair at the time. And then you had to put your hand in these sanitizing solution for a minute, take them out, put on like 3 plastic gloves, stick them under this thing that melted them down to your skin, stick that in this sanitizing solution for a bit. And then they gave you like a lab coat. And so, you look like a, mad scientist. And then you went down into wherever you were assigned. And so the first place I was assigned was in packaging. It was quality control. And these conveyor belts would come down with hot dogs in them. And I had a box of good hot dogs. And whenever I saw a hot dog that was too wrinkled, too short, too long, or not sealed, I had to fling it out of its place and replace it with a good hot dog. And then it went down to packaging, where this machine would come down and go, and it'd be packaged, cut, and then someone else was putting them into boxes, and then they'd stamp the box, send it down the conveyor, and get loaded on a truck. So the whole building's cold. And after about 2 hours, I can feel my nose starting to drip. So all I did while I'm doing quality control was I went like this on my sleeve, like that. A couple hands grabbed me from behind, pulled me off the line, sent me back to sanitization, where I had to strip everything off and go through the process again before returning to the line. So that's how strict they were. And they were USDA inspectors standing around watching the whole thing.
Yep.
And so I had to go through that whole process again, new beard net, new hair net, new gloves, new coat. Came back, and this time they put me in packaging, and because they'd replaced someone else on the line. And then that went to about, till lunchtime, after 3.5, 4 hours. And I went to the lunchroom, and I bummed some money off of somebody to put in the vending machine. And I'm listening to these guys talk. And it's a couple of big dudes. They probably were, they were huge and had big, huge beards and like tattoos all over them. They were probably bikers or something. And they're talking to each other they're like, man, I love it here, man. This is like the best job I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. And so the whistle blew to go back to work, and everybody's going back to the time clock, punching back in. And I punched in and I punched out, and I just went out the side door to my car and drove away. I just couldn't take it. I was like, this place is not for me. I absolutely hated it. So, but with all due respect, the quality control was admirable. So now I wasn't further up the line to see what goes in hot dogs. We know what goes in hot dogs. It's just, it's just blended meat and maybe some filler. So I'm not too worried about it. I eat hot dogs. I'm not afraid of them. And, but I will say that, can you trust a hot dog? I think you can trust a hot dog. Read the ingredients, make sure you get the cleanest one you can, but I don't think you have to be afraid of it.
There's some quality ones out there.
Yeah. All righty. Let's see here.
Still, once again, even a bad hot dog is better than eating a carrot stick.
Yeah. Bacon Runner says, I eat 2 meals a day, bacon for breakfast just to be sociable, and then a big lunch around 2:30. So yeah, there's 2 meals a day. All right. I did 2 meals a day the first year as it felt right. Yeah. Like I said, I'm 2, sometimes 3. I just make the 2 count. Like, whatever I would eat in 3, I eat the same amount across 2. So, I come to the shows to discuss health. I can depend on this one. Thank you. Anybody got questions? Put them in the chat. I am working my way down. I'm still 30 minutes behind. So let me start skipping through here. Rick says regular cheesecake tastes nasty to him. Probably with a sugar loaded cheesecake would. I don't know. Plain cheesecake is kind of boring. I've liked some other cheesecakes in the past. I haven't had cheesecake in forever though. I'd like to try a carnivore cheesecake. I'd be up for it.
I even told my son-in-law when I was looking at those ones that my daughter had made at Thanksgiving. I said, I'd hate to know what all that sugar would do to me right now. It would probably tear me up. Once again, that's my motivation for not doing it, for not going off the wagon.
When I was on vacation in Myrtle Beach in early September, we went out to a outdoor mall called Boardwalk on the Beach, and there was a place there. And every time we go, we stop there. They sell these wine slushies. So that was, wine and alcohol, and they had those at like 11 a.m. That was the last time I willingly had sugar, knowing that I had sugar. But it didn't affect me. I mean, I got a little slightly tipsy because I got a large one and I got the most potent one available, but it didn't give me cramps because I was able to walk that off all day and replenish my water and everything. Rick says hospital food is worse than duck food. Yeah, I feel bad for you guys that always talk about how bad hospital food is because my hospital has great food.
I've been in one hospital, and that was in Fountain Valley, California, that the food was really good. And they even gave me wine with my meal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But that was then I've been in the hospital in Fort Worth that I couldn't eat the food. Literally, I couldn't. And that was back when I ate salad and I could eat just about anything. That food was so bad. It was disgusting. And I've said it and I mean it. And I've told my wife this, if I'm ever in the hospital again long enough that I have to eat a meal, she's going to be kept busy because I'm not going to eat anything they give me. I won't eat a thing. I will fast. She'll have to bring me my food.
Hey.
Now, so I in honor of Rick, really wasn't really in honor of Rick. I just wanted it, but he put the idea in my head. So the day before Thanksgiving, I smoked a duck. So I had duck the day before Thanksgiving.
All right.
Unfortunately, it wasn't one that I took off of my pond. I had to buy this one from the store, but it was still good.
All right, very good. You're talking about a hospital that served you wine. That's an awesome hospital there.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's
service with a smile. Well,
it was out in California, so they do things different out there.
I made a very large pork belly roast and oopsie cake for Thanksgiving at my son's house. I've been eating leftovers since, and it's wrecking my blood sugars. Type 1 diabetic. It's been a long time since I made oopsie rolls. I remember back in the early 2000s, I found the recipe for that. It replaced buns, and then I got too lazy to make them. But at the time, that's the one thing I loved about keto when I started keto was like, I actually really got into recipes, trying to make this, trying to make that. And then I realized I was just trying to make keto friendly versions of the foods that I should avoid anyway. And then I kind of changed my mentality on it,
I hate that bullshit.
Well, I got to admit, I did a lot of that in the beginning of Carnivore, trying to make breads and whatnot. And all of it turned out to be more trouble than it was worth. It really wasn't. It was okay, but it really wasn't worth all the effort.
It never matches that memory that you got.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It's those memories that trigger me.
Rick mentions Sean, intentional carnivore, fell to the duck food and was waddling around. Yeah, no, he backslid, and he's gone silent as a result on his YouTube channel. So
he can't get into the mental game of it. He won't. He's treating it like a diet, and he won't go into it as a lifestyle.
Yeah, he did.
I remember. I think it was him that on his 1 year anniversary, he went out and ate a pizza.
Oh wow!
I mean, you went a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? I mean, I understand why you did it, but it's such a waste.
Well, especially if that's like, he's derailed. Yeah. He's fell back to his old habits. So, and he was doing really good too. I mean, he lost a lot of weight and he was very inspirational. So
that's a slick trick I use is I'll get the sandwich pepperoni, the different salamis, and I'll have them cut it thick at the deli. I'll say I want 2 pieces of that, 2 pieces of that, 2 pieces of that. I take them home, put them in the frying pan, kind of toast one side, flip it over quick,
yep.
and I put little pizza toppings on it, little cheese, little pepperoni, little uh, maybe ricotta cheese with other cheeses mixed in it on top, let it melt in. And each one of them's like a little mini pizza. And that's how, if my grandkids are going to have pizza, while they're ordering pizza, I'm making that. And my favorite now is cottage cheese and take a frying pan, put half a cup of cottage cheese in the bottom of the frying pan, spread it out. I use like a little 8-inch frying pan, and I put all my pizza toppings on top of that.
When I was doing Adkins, I used to make a deep dish, low carb pizza.
Yeah.
And glass dish, and I would layer it with the tomato sauce, the mozzarella, whatever kind of cheese I was using. Layer with the pepperonis and the salami or whatever I was putting in it. And so it was just layer after layer of sauce, cheese, meats, sauce, cheese, meats. And it was absolutely delicious. And I've thought about making it since then, but it's the tomato sauce that turns me off. I'll eat everything else, but I don't want the tomato sauce. So I don't bother with that.
So we would make these. We called them cheesy foldovers. And so what we would do is on a pan, we would heat up a pan, and we would put slices of provolone and maybe some shredded mozzarella cheese and melt it down, and in the pan to where it would start to brown on one side, kind of like a pancake would. And then in the middle, we would put our pepperoni, our sausage, and then if we wanted to, maybe a little pizza sauce and maybe a little banana pepper, and fold that over, and then take it off the pan and eat it. And so that was a very keto, mostly carnivore, depending on what you put in it, dinner, and it tasted just like a pizza or just like a stromboli, but without the bread. So that was something we used to do a lot too. So I backed off of that though when my phosphorus got high, because cheese is high phosphorus, and they were so good, I started making them all the time. And I'm like, well, I'm not really eating a lot of meat. I'm actually eating a lot of cheese. So I had to back off a bit. But that's taken once in a while. So Linda says, I wish y'all came on more than once a week. Love listening to you all. I do want to add like an interview to my regimen, like on Fridays or over the weekends. So look for that coming up. I've been talking about it for a while. That was actually one of my initial goals with this channel, and it just kind of never went that way because of my time and my circumstances. But there are other channels, so Saturdays, Rick, Charger Mopar, he's in the chat right now. His is 8 a.m. and it's 8 a.m. Saturday morning until time indefinite. Sometimes it lasts till noon. Sometimes it lasts till 4. Sometimes it even goes beyond that. So you never know how long this is going to last, but it goes on all day. A lot of the same people that you see here, you're going to see there. And then I can also think of Mitch in the morning has a very casual chat during the week. And then most other people, I think, are in the form of interviews. So, you got Target Prime Rib and a lot of the other coaches, they do a lot of interviews. I think Carnivore Sunday School does something more like this. With mine though, anybody can join at any time. Like seriously, you want to talk to us face to face, talk to Jeff, talk to Paul, talk to myself. You can click that link at the top. Boom, your device lights up. We see you on screen. So does the rest of the world, and we can sit here and have a conversation. A lot of those other channels, they have prearranged guests, and it's not just a free for all. Like ours is an open mic. So. But there's definitely you'll find the same group of people around almost every day of the week. You can find a live stream in the carnivore community somewhere. I think Paul, don't you say Grandma Crochet Carnivore's got one? Does she do one
Yeah.
too? Yeah, I think you've talked about her, and it's late for me, so right now I can't think fully straight either. So, but those are some that could pop off the top of my head. If you're an early, if
You
you're an
have to
early
kind of
riser,
shop around and see who your cup of tea is. And,
Mhm.
I have kind of not liked Tony Hampton a whole lot, but recently I've gotten to understand him better. And he just, in the last day or two, he put out a really interesting, maybe just a short, or it's a lot of times his videos only go 10 minutes. But he's got one about how doctors are trained about cholesterol and what
Mhm.
doctors think about cholesterol right now.
Yeah, I watched
And he
that one.
kind of he just came out in the last day or two,
Mhm.
Tony Hampton. And, I think he trained under Westman in Duke. And then he went out to Chicago. And he treats a very underprivileged population. I don't know how else to politically say it correctly, and his people are not eating ribeyes. But he kind of took the doctors to task and said, if you're thinking in the old paradigm, you need to maybe rethink your position and rethink about things, and really start to understand cholesterol and what really causes heart attacks nowadays. Okay, that was kind of his focus, and I thought, yeah, baby, there's a doctor talking to doctors, and speaking their language, and I and you have to understand some of these people with the context they come from. And a lot of the doctors that I listen to, they are doctors. They're seeing patients. Westman sees patients 4 days a week, and he's got a system down. He walks into your office to see you, he's ready to get down to brass tacks, and you're already up to speed because you've had 2 videos, 2 preps, and the nurses have already run you through the ringer for half an hour, and you're already on the right page. But not everybody's going to be your cup of tea. And then eventually, it's just like, say you knew nothing about how to build a house. You start watching videos on construction. How do I plumb a wall? How do I do this? How do I do that? And you'll say, well, 4 out of 5 did it this way. I don't understand why the other guy is doing something so weird. But the standard, and that's when it comes to carnivore. The standard carnivore practices, everybody talks about the same stuff. There's not a whole lot of difference about what we're talking about here and what Rick's talking about. The most part Rick's talking about on a Saturday morning. The principles are pretty much the same. If they're very much different, I mean, if Rick starts talking about adding carbs to his diet, I'm pulling the sheet over my head. I'm pulling the blanket over my head. I'm looking for the nearest culvert to crawl into. That's going to be a bad day that day. Well, I'm just saying, would you? The only way I would add carbs back into my diet if Bart K and Eric Westman and Chafee all said, hey, you got to have at least 35 carbs every day. And here's why we've proven it. Well, then I'd say, well, that's something to think about. Not saying I do it, but it's something to think about. But so
Yeah.
far, that hasn't happened.
No, they're not going to say that. So they'll all say that the exact requirement, the exact amount of carbohydrates required for in a human diet is 0.
Zippo.
Yeah.
Yep.
However, Eric Westman does eat carbs. So does Bart K. So the only one of those 3 you mentioned, only Chafee is the one who's a strict carnivore.
Oh yeah, man, he's a little over the top for me, but his science is good. Well,
Yeah.
he's no coffee, no tea, no nothing.
Uh-huh.
Same. I don't do any of that.
Yep.
All I drink is water.
Well, right now, we were talking about surviving the holidays. If I have a craving, my first go-to is a little bit of salt and a little bit of water. Okay. 20 minutes later, if I can't get through it, it's a cup of black coffee, probably with half a tablespoon of butter. Okay.
Yep. It's what works for you.
Yeah. And that, call it a crutch, call it whatever you want to call it. But it got me through not having a cookie, a pie, a cake, whatever carbohydrate you want to talk about. You know what I'm
Wunderbar.
saying?
Yeah,
I
wunderbar.
avoided the carb. Now, I did a little experiment a couple of weeks ago. I was on a new insulin and I erred the wrong way. I took a little too much insulin, so I had some pretty serious low blood sugar. And I do have a little bit of sugar here in the house, not much. And they said, well, a teaspoon of sugar, that's what's in your bloodstream. Okay. If you're at 85 milligrams per deciliter, you look at your blood volume, it's about a teaspoon of sugar. And I said, well, I'm in trouble right now. So I took a teaspoon of sugar, put it in coffee, and drank it. It's the only way I could get it down. And I was surprised how fast my body metabolized that sugar and put it into my bloodstream. I was really surprised. I was really shocked.
I think
And
sugar
that,
can almost go directly to the bloodstream.
I mean, I was really, 15 minutes and blood sugar, the air on my meter was straight up,
Yeah. Well, for me, coffee and all that, I'm no tough guy. I didn't quit. I was 3 cup a day drinker. I didn't quit coffee because, well, I'm noble and I'm going to be strict carnivore. I did it because I just lost my taste for it. That's all it was. I started carnivore, and one day I was just drinking a cup of coffee, and it didn't taste good to me anymore. And I started drinking coffee when I was in basic training. It just didn't taste good. And so I went to tea, and I drank tea for a year. Now, tea, I did decide to quit. That one I chose to quit simply because it was the last addictive thing that was controlling me was caffeine. And so I did want to quit the caffeine. But that was tea, and it wasn't that hard as far as tea went. If I had tried to quit coffee, it would have been harder, I believe.
Here's the carnivore. Here's the carnivore quiz question for the day. Why do we call the military rations in World War II? Why were they called K rations? Why? Why weren't they C rations or B rations or D rations?
Well, when I was
Where
in,
did
they
the
were
K?
C rations, but yeah,
Well,
when my
where did
dad
the
was
K?
in, they were K rations.
Where'd the K come from?
I think I've heard this, and I don't remember.
Keys.
Okay.
He's the one that and they were 3,400 calories for a soldier. In World War II, that was our calorie intake for a soldier was 3,400 calories. And if you were in, like, say you're handling heavy 90-pound artillery shells all day, then you needed 400 more calories. So you got basically like a double Snickers bar. It was a special, it was a 400 calorie like Snickers bar they made up, and they passed those out. And a lot of the guys on the lines and decks they keep in their pocket and they grab a bite whenever they could. And but that's where our K ration came from.
Yeah, we had the old C rations, and they were extremely high carb meals. And at the same time, here's a weird thing about them. Okay, even though they were high carb, there was something about them, the way they were designed. We didn't poop. There was no excrement left in the field. I can't explain it. Even though they were high carb, there was something about them that kept us from having to go, because you don't want to leave things, in the field in combat.
Well, I remember my father telling me about the toilet paper ration in like when you were on a ship or wherever, you go by every so many days and you got so many squares of toilet paper.
Well, in the C rations, you had a little packet, and they had little small squares. We called them John Wayne paper. And the reason why we call them, if you were out and you needed some, hey man, you got any John Wayne paper? And we called it John Wayne paper because it didn't take crap off of anybody.
Okay. All right. Interesting. No, I can't think of what you can.
See, we cover all bases on this talk show.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we go off topic sometimes. All right. Jamette says Dr. Barry's wife Nisha was good. Keto food now. I think she is keto carnivore. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. She's basically a ketovore. And that's completely fine. You know, Dr. Barry's mostly carnivore like myself, occasionally cheese with keto. And the kids get to eat some fruit, you know. So, they're reasonable people. So,
But do you guys find that your appetite sometimes ebbs and flows? Like I'll go for a couple of weeks and I'll eat, 2 pounds of meat every day. And then I'll go maybe down to 12 ounces for a week or two. It kind of ebbs and flows and just,
A lot of it has to do with my activity level and the weather. Colder weather will spike my appetite.
Yeah.
yeah, for me it's activity level too. So I can easily fast on the weekends when I'm doing nothing, but during the week when I work, I'm definitely a lot more hungry. So
yeah.
Jamette mentions so other live streams: Mitch in the morning, Thomas, Amy, Juliet, Russ, Rick on Saturday, Dr. Chafee, and Dr. Barry. Yeah, there's plenty of content to listen to, and so much so that actually we struggled for a while trying to decide when we would have ours, and we decided that Monday night. And even then, we were like, Monday, because Dr. Barry has Monday Night Live an hour before we go on, so we couldn't do it at 7, as nobody would watch because they're all watching Dr. Barry, So we decided at 8:00, so that way we're not competing with Dr. Barry, because there'd be no competition. We'd get crushed. So Bacon Runner just subscribed to Tony Hampton. Yeah, he's got good content. Tony Hampton.
I subscribe to Tony. He's a good guy.
Yeah. And then, yes, Dr. Kilt's early. If you're an early riser, 6 a.m., that's I usually miss it live because I don't get up at 6 a.m. for anything. So, all right. Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Nelson. Yeah, they do that together. They're like a dynamic duo now. So no gingivitis growing food for me. That's an interesting comment, because you know what? Everyone I know that's done carnivore has eliminated their gingivitis and their periodontitis. Gone from inflamed or bleeding gums and deep pockets to actually getting healthier and recovering, and myself included. That's one of my carnivore victories. So I was once told that by my dentist that they wanted to send me to a whatever the next step up is, orthodontist or something. They wanted to remove my gums, set them aside, clean my roots, and then sew the gums back on. But then I'd have more tooth showing than I did before.
Never.
I'm like, heck no, I ain't doing that.
That ruined my mother, and she ended up having to get full dentures because of that surgery.
Yeah, that was like crazy. So they gave me the reference. You gave me the reference. I never called and made up an appointment. I'm like, I ain't even doing this. I started by like, okay, I'm going to brush religiously and floss now. So I started doing that. And then now carnivore diet, has been a game changer. And, it truly makes sense, because what rots your teeth is a bacteria that thrives on certain sugars and starches. And when those enter your mouth, they multiply like crazy, and they excrete these acids that eat away at your tooth enamel.
Yep.
So
that's right. You're exactly right. And that's why they've never been able to come up with a vaccine for cavities.
Right. So if you don't eat what feeds that bacteria, then you won't have rotten teeth. So, and now think about other animals in nature. And the key word is in nature. There are very rare instances of animals who eat their natural diet and lose their teeth. Very rare. And someone might be like, oh, well, what a dog, well, the dog is probably eating whatever you're feeding them and not eating their natural diet.
The dog's eating kibble, and kibble is not their natural diet. My
Right.
dogs are carnivores.
Right. So that's just, more evidence that just how many plants were we really supposed to be eating? I'm not saying that mankind was not ever eating plants. I think mankind has always been eating some plants, but a carnivore centric diet, or a diet that's made up of mostly meat, was probably the norm, because you go back and look at the fossil record, you don't have an issue with teeth prior to like the agricultural revolution. So,
Yeah.
those are some hard facts that are, eye opening. So,
And I've heard of people reversing plaque buildup,
right.
with no effort, just eating carnivore. I've heard of this. I haven't tested it for myself, simply because I don't go to a dentist. I won't go to a dentist unless I have an emergency. So I'll never know for sure if I've reversed any plaque buildup in my mouth. So I'll just have to trust what everybody else says.
Yep. AMD Gart, I had a huge ribeye. Best Thanksgiving ever. Sounds good. All right.
I'd rather have that than turkey.
Camel meat has got to be good down under. We had someone on here, or not here, in our forum. We had someone over at carnivoretalk.com from out of the country who said that they ate camel meat. It was fairly common where they were. Not over here, of course. So
I'd like to try it.
I would try it. What's interesting too, over here, it doesn't happen here in the United States. In fact, if you even mention it, you'll probably be slandered, called a blasphemer, awful person, or whatever. But over in Europe, it's actually pretty common. That's horse. So I had a friend of mine that lived here in my town, my congregation. He went to Italy to help his company start up a division over there. So he was there for 2 years, and he lived down the street from an abattoir, I think is what they call it, which is basically a butcher shop. And they specialized in horse. They sold horse meat like nothing else, and it was super popular. It was more popular than beef over there. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that over here. I mean, I think there was some rumor like 10 years ago that, like, I think it was Burger King had horse meat in their Whoppers or something, and like people flipped out at the thought of it.
Yeah.
But over there in Europe, they're like, yeah, man, chow down.
Well, I know over in Asia they'll eat horse and whatnot. Now, there was a time here in Texas where if you had a horse that you couldn't sell, the horse was aged, it was costing more money to keep him alive than it was to feed. It was costing him too much to keep him alive. You would sell him to the killers, and they would pay you, low prices, bottom dollar, but you'd make a little money on the horse. And they would take the horses. They couldn't do it here in the States, but they'd take them down to Mexico, and they'd kill them for the meat market down there. But Texas passed a law, and they stopped all that. You can't do that anymore, which really, really hurt the horse industry. It really did, because people had a way of getting rid of unwanted horses, and now they don't. Yep. And so it was actually a detriment to the horse business, to horses themselves, because they couldn't be humanely just put down anymore and gotten rid of. So more horses were starving, more horses were not being taken care of because of it. And I have horses. I wouldn't be opposed to trying horse meat. Mm-hmm. I have horses. I'm just not going to eat my own.
Yeah.
There's times I want to. But my wife won't let me.
Yeah. When they're misbehaving.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
We call them big goats for a reason. Mm-hmm. They're into something all the time. Sometimes I think a horse is just looking for a place to die, because they're always getting into something. They're always getting hurt. They're always being mischievous. They're big goats.
Hmm. Yep. Bacon Runner says, my husband just agreed that he doesn't remember pooping in the field on rations in the Army either. That's interesting.
We used to, that was something we used to talk about. You know, we were like, why is this? What is this about these C rations what's it doing to us? Because it was just something we didn't do. We didn't have the urge.
Jeanette says, I can't eat a pound of hamburger too much. I think it's not just carnivore, it's exercise too. Just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Might depend on your size. You know, how tall are you? You're female, how much your muscle mass or whatever. I can put away a pound per meal. I know people that eat 2 to 3 pounds per meal. That's a bit much for me. I can do about at best a pound. I'm full. On a if I'm really hungry, I might be able to do like a pound and a quarter, like 20 ounces of meat, but a pound is about my
I'm
limit.
just getting started at a pound.
Wow. Yeah.
We were out doing it. We were out doing a bunch of run around. We doing some banking business up in town we used to live in, and we stopped someplace for lunch. And the only thing on the menu I could eat was breakfast, so I had it. And I'm sure my eggs were cooked in seed oils, but they had a meat lover's breakfast, and it was ham, bacon, sausage, and eggs. I ate that. Took me about 10 minutes to eat it, and turned to my wife and I said I could eat 2 more of those real easy. And as soon as I got home, I loaded down my plate with some venison sausage and the last of the turkey, and I chowed down. I probably ate over a pound of meat right there. Finished all that off.
Here's an interesting comment. Quick interview to point of Orthodox Christians do it the other way around. We eat more carnivore than more 5 or 7 days every week. Receipt for the big fasts, both Lent and Nativity right now lasts 40 days.
I'm not understanding the context.
Yeah, Jaguar Sims. You know, so no, Lent. Well, so Orthodox, is that like Eastern Orthodox? So it's going to be a bit foreign to me. I know the Lent over here in the U.S., it's like a 40-day period leading up to Easter, is it? Or Good Friday or something?
Good Friday.
And over here, it's like, Catholics or Catholics in name, they'll go without, trying to make some sort of sacrifice for 40 days. Like they say they go without meat, but then they'll eat fish like crazy. And or they'll give up something. Like I know someone they'll give up candy for Lent, and some people will try and give up alcohol for Lent or something like that. So I don't really understand the tradition behind it, just because that's not a tradition I practice myself. But this is interesting because you say you eat more carnivore than most others, is what I was getting from that. So that's interesting. All right.
Well, I just recently learned that Lent is not what I always thought it was. It's not 40 continuous days. It's 6 days. The 7th day you don't abstain. Then you go 6 more days. You start counting the calendar days from Ash Wednesday to Good Friday, you come up with more than 40. And I go, oh, well, how can that be? And it's because Sundays don't count.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, and I'm not gonna investigate it too much either. So
yeah, it's not worth it.
So I'm a very religious person and know the Bible through and through, but I've never read anything that would make me want to participate in that tradition. So that's okay. But for those that do, that's interesting. So maybe we'll explain it someday on this other channel I may or may not to create someday. Let's see here. Love to all you carnivores. It changed my life, and I'm blown away by the results. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's same here. Changed my life, and the results are motivating. Definitely life changing. Genghis Khan loved his horse meat, and Rick says horse meat used to be in pet food.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure it wasn't in those C rations we was eating. I'll tell you.
Rick says he eats 2 pounds a meal. All right. So yeah, you can double what I can do, but also like I'm 5'8". I think you have like a foot on me. So Rick's a tall boy.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how tall he was till he went to that meetup there in
Yeah. You get to see him in
Stock or
pictures with
whatever it
other
was.
people. Yeah.
Took those pictures with him people. Yeah, I had no idea he was so tall.
4 pounds of meat is my limit for a meal. All right. That's impressive.
I might do that when I go to Texas Day, Brazil. I'm not sure. I know I try to hurt myself.
I do try. I try to hurt myself there too. Make sure I want to make sure that they're not making a profit on me.
Yeah,
So,
same.
and you know what? With some training, I'm sure we could pull that off. I also like to. I watch some of these YouTube channels where these people they eat. That's their shtick is how much they can eat. And they'll eat 6, 7, 8, 9 pounds of food, like beer to meats food. A guy named Randy Santel, I'm sorry, and his wife or girlfriend, is it Christy does kilos. So a lot of those they're food competitors, so they go to these restaurants that have these challenges like, hey, if you can eat this meal in under 30 minutes, it's free and you get a t-shirt. So
Right.
that's they go around all around the country, all around the world to these restaurants.
And I'm sure they've done the one at the steakhouse in Amarillo. Up there in Amarillo, they've got a restaurant up there that's famous for it. They serve you a 72-ounce steak.
Uh-huh.
And you got X amount of time to eat the steak, and the meal is free. But if you don't get it done in that amount of time, you got to pay for that steak. And I'm sure it's pretty expensive these days.
Yeah.
And my wife asked me, wasn't really all that long ago, do you think you could do that challenge? And I said, I'd love to try it, but I can't do it because you have to eat the sides.
Yeah.
That's part of the challenge. It's not just eating the steak. You got to eat the baked potato and whatever else they serve with it.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I'm
You're right.
If they'll just serve me the steak, I'll give it a go.
72 ounces would be what, 6 pounds?
It's a chunk.
4.5.
Four something, yeah, because it'd be 6 times. Yeah, six times
16.
Yeah, so 16, 32, 64, 78. 78 would be 5 pounds. Okay. All right. No, I think I did that math. I did that math wrong. 16,
80 is 5 pounds.
Yeah, 16, 32. So it's 16, 32, 64 plus 16. Plus 16 is 80. Okay, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So 4.5 pounds. Yeah, I couldn't do it. And there's a time when I was like, 10, 20 years ago, you stick 3 pizzas in front of me, I might have given it a go. But I don't know if I could do that steak, man, because steak is filling. Being carnivore is so incredible, but I've had little success getting anyone I know to at least try it. They are addicted to the whole culture of carbs. Yep. Join the club.
So don't try. Be an example. That's all you can be. You can't get anybody else to do anything that they don't want to do. So just be an example. When they come to you and go, wow, what happened to you? What did you do? Then you can explain it to them. But don't try to get anybody to do anything. The old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So
now, see, he then proceeds to say, even when they see the change in me, they still don't believe. So it's interesting because I've had people be like, oh, wow, you've lost a ton of weight. What'd you do? And I'm like, carnivore diet. And then after like 6 months of keeping it off, I've had some people come up to me like, hey, I heard about this carnivore diet and I heard that you did it and someone told me to come talk to you about it. So I've talked to them about it and they're like, yeah, I'm thinking about giving it a try, but then I never hear about it again, So I've got one local person who does a carnivore diet at her doctor's recommendation at that too. So I got one person locally who's on board. So we talk once in a while.
Well, I quit trying to solicit my advice to others. simply because I came to a realization that nobody wants to hear what I got to say when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know? And the realization came really strong to me when a friend of mine, she was so miserable from an autoimmune disease that was just tearing up her skin. And she spent one night, I went over to her house for her birthday, me and my wife. And while she was sipping on a Sprite, a full sugar Sprite, she was telling me how bad a night she had, how miserable she was, and that she was so miserable, she was just glad that there wasn't a gun in the house that night. And so I felt compelled when I hear somebody talk about something like that, I felt compelled to try and help her. So I explained to her about this and how, what you have is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease can be helped, fixed, cured by carnivore, and it would greatly help you. And it'll do more for you than any doctor or any medicine can do for you. And she took a swig of her Sprite and said, "Oh, I just couldn't give up my hamburgers." Well, that's when I knew right there that I don't need to be telling anybody about this unless they come to me. If they come to me and say, "Hey, what did you do?" then I can talk to them. But I can't solicit my advice to anybody because they're not going to be receptive to it unless they are beaten down like I was beaten down. I was beaten down. I was at the end of my rope. I felt like I was dying and something had to change. And so I was at the bottom. Okay. This woman, I thought she was at the bottom. When she started talking self-elimination, I thought she was at the bottom, but apparently she just wasn't there. And so there was no need for me to say anything more. So I don't offer advice to anybody unless they ask for it.
If say you're at a party with 30 people, friends and family, right? And you're the only carnivore there, you will be criticized.
So be it.
For the most part.
Yeah,
I know. But if you are a vegan, okay, if you're the vegan, okay,
good
you
point.
will, everybody's going to, oh, wow. Oh, you're doing, oh, great. You're such a wonderful praises to the vegan and, cussing to the carnivore. And I think some of that vegan thing is all about, it's like, well, look at me. I'm this popular. I'm a vegan.
Well, a lot of it is virtue signaling. I absolutely love what you've got up here from Feral Grandma.
Yeah.
Brainwashed.
I love that. Yep.
That's
I wanted
great.
to comment on that. Yep.
That's great.
They are thoroughly grain-washed.
Yep.
I love that term.
Very good.
Grain-washed. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Jeep Australia started at £1 per meal. Now it's up to 2 pounds. I'm 5'8". I'm 5'8" also. Changed over time. And then our foreign friend here says I'm 70, but my upper body looks 30. I've never had this kind of definition. I've raced motorcycles my whole life. If I had this miracle of fitness, I can only imagine what I could have done. Yeah, I agree. If only my 20-year-old self could have been listened to my 45-year-old self, my 47-year-old self. I'm 50 now, but yeah, if I could go back in time and tell myself what I know now, wow, things would be so much different.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Rick says 72 ounces would be a tough one even for him. He challenged a friend to a steak eating contest and the friend lost. Yeah. Let's see here. My doctor just dispenses big pharma. The drug reps are at his office every day selling crap that doesn't help his patients, in my opinion.
Yep.
Here we go. Are your wives carnivore? No. So
No.
mine will occasionally be an animal-based or keto, but not usually. She loves to eat whatever she wants. So she's got a sweet tooth and we'll give into it. But she's super supportive. Like, she will not let me cheat. she's very supportive. She knows that my diet's keeping me alive. So it's not for her, but she will make sure she will not let me cheat. So she's very
Mine
supportive.
is very meat based, mainly because she loves the fact that I like to cook. And so as long as I'm willing to cook it, she's willing to eat whatever I cook. And she likes what I cook. And I smoke a lot of meats, on my smoker. And she loves smoked meats. So she's more than willing to eat whatever I cook. Now, what she's going to do is she's going to add onion and avocado. That's her gig right there is onions and avocado.
Mhm.
But like with the holidays, she's going to eat what she wants to eat. So she eats the real cheesecake. She eats the yams and the sweet potatoes and all this other stuff. But she eats it occasionally when it's available. She'll eat it, but she's not going to go out of her way to fix it herself. So most of the time at the house, she's eating what I'm eating, and that's fine, other than adding in her onion and avocado. But here's the thing. So she's been dealing this week with a little dietary indiscretion. And I said, well, what do you think that came from? And her first thought was, well, I wonder if it could have been the innards from that duck you smoked, because she cooked up the heart, the liver, the gizzard, and everything from that duck, and she ate that, and she was just wondering if maybe there was something off about those, and that's what was causing her issues. And it's still going on today, because that was the next day after Thanksgiving, and so it's still going on today, and so I asked her again. I said, what do you think could be causing that? And she says, I think it's because of all the rich food I've been eating. See, she's been eating a meat-centric diet for a long time. And then all of a sudden she's eating all this junk. She's consuming all this junk from Thanksgiving and still consuming it because, we have leftovers that were brought home. And And I believe she's 100% right. She got off track, and her gut biome's messed up now because she's putting that junk in there. Too much sugar, too many carbs, and it's tearing her up.
Yeah. 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 And there's nothing going to be wrong with the heart or anything from that bird
No.
either. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with you there. So it's the sudden shift of going off plan and over consuming the off plan material. So, Rick says, I feel sorry for vegans. Yes. And yes, they're missing out. Yes. But I respect them, so.
I love the videos of the vegans eating steak for the first time in decades, and just watching them, their face just melts with pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
In that regard, I feel sorry for them too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I mean there. But yeah, I mean, I still, just take the opportunity here to, I'm not anti-vegan. If you're a vegan watching this channel, I respect your choices and I understand why you might choose to live that kind of lifestyle. And again, thanks to modern technology, it is sustainable due to supplements and agriculture and shipping and around and stuff like that. But I will make a good case as to why it's not natural and it's not really a proper human diet. So, and, but if someone wants to be vegan and they're thriving on it, go for it. So, statistically though, most people will pursue it for a while and then still go back to, sometimes they'll either go back to a mixed diet, omnivore diet. For a lot of people, their foray into veganism is actually paves the way to carnivore for them. So, but yeah, let's see here. Great channel. I'm subscribed. Well, thank you very much. Helps me get one more. I'm so close to 3,000. So I appreciate that. So, It was all a big lie. Big grocery, big pharma, big medical are all a scam feeding each other. They are definitely in cahoots. So I do think a lot of them, I mean, I don't think there's a conspiracy in every mass marketed ultra processed food product out there. I think some people, they have good intentions, but it's a matter of the blind leading the blind, so. And then are those out there that know exactly what they're doing. They don't care. They want your money, even if they got to sell you junk or they got to sell you meds to get it. All right. That brings us to the end, I think. Carnivore is the gift that keeps on giving. Yes, indeed. So, and we got, yes, and you would also like Old Guy Carnivore in the morning and Dr. Kiltz. Yes. So those are, Old Guy Carnivore moved his, didn't he? Is he 9 a.m. now? Is he back to 9 a.m. 3 days a week or something? He changed it again recently, I think. He went to something earlier and it got too early for me, so I miss him now. But then I heard him make an announcement that he was changing it up again. So and Dr. Kiltz is 6 a.m., which is 8 hours from now, 7 hours from now. And that's I'll be fast asleep then. Dustin's in the house. Keto Simple. There's another good channel worth checking out. Is Keto Simple. Second time I've joined a live. Justice is ending. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. It's we've been going since 8, and we're gonna say goodbye here shortly. But I'm glad you popped in to say hi. All right. Oh, the feral grandmother is home from martial arts. All right. Watch your mouth around her. Should have lay you flat on the floor. All right. So, okay, yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So he went back to 9 a.m. I could probably catch him again then too. Now that my son works for me, when I was working by myself, I would listen to Carnivore lives and Carnivore programming while I drove to work. But now my son's with me, and I don't want to impose that on him. So usually we're listening to something else or talking or listening to music or whatnot. It's another reason why I'm a little behind on on the latest Carnivore community gossips and whatnot. So, all right. Dustin asks, feral grandmother, what martial arts are you doing? And so we'll grab an answer for that before we sign off here. But I do want to thank everybody for joining us this Monday after the holiday. And it was actually pretty decent in here. We had up to 40 at one time, which is our average. I thought it was kind of going to be slow because I was on a couple other lives today, including Dr. Kiltz's, and it seemed like attendance was a little low today, and maybe that's because it's the holidays or after the holiday or whatnot. So, but we had a pretty typical turnout, and so really appreciate that. Sorry again for missing everybody last week. Last week was kind of the anniversary of a tragedy that happened in our family years before. So particularly for my wife. And so she wanted to get out of the house and do something. And so she had bought tickets to go see Maroon 5 and asked me to go with her. So that's what I did. So spend the evening with my wife, keeping our minds busy and off of what this day kind of has signified in the past. That's why I wasn't here last week. So, but did miss you all. I'm glad to be here today. Let's see here. Feral grandmother, we need to know, are you a black belt, a ninja? Inquiring minds want to know. Here we go. Started in Kung Fu ages ago. Let me put that on the screen. Started in Kung Fu ages ago, so I'm in Tai Chi now. That's why my Avenger has a green sash. I'll say. All right, very good. All right. Well, thank you for answering that. I'll catch up on YouTube comments as soon as I can. I look forward to seeing you next Monday. If you have a topic that you particularly want to discuss, feel free to send it to me using the contact form below or email it at bob@carnivoretalk.com. If you're interested in being interviewed, you can reach out to me the same way, because we're going to get that rolling here soon. And that's that. In the meantime, we'll see you throughout the week over in the forums at carnivoretalk.com. And again, thank you again for joining us tonight. Love you all. Have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Sign off right now. Good night.